Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. There's still time. The AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall,
And I'm Zachary Meisner.
and what a glorious week for football it has been. The Whitecaps are Champion Cup final bound. Vancouver FC for Zach got their first win of the season against a team TSS Rovers are going to be playing on Wednesday that I'm now full of a lot of confidence for that championship game in the Voyagers Cup.
We softened them up for you.
Yes, you most certainly did. We'll talk about that in part 4. We're going to talk Whitecaps in the first 3 parts. A lot to talk about. We'll be recapping the 2 big games of the week. Saturday's win over RSL and MLS action. Have to give 2 parts, really, to talk about the big win over Miami midweek. Lots of audio to bring you. We brought you our full Miami post-game audio in the last extra podcast, episode 100, that had post-game chats with Jesper Sorensen, Brian White, Sebastian Berhalter, Tristan Blackman. If you missed that and you're not a subscriber, you can do so for $30 a year, $3 a month. Head over to aftn.ca to find out how you can do that and support all the work we do here at AFTN. In this episode, we'll bring you some chat with Axel Schuster, Jesper Sorensen, Tristan Blackman, Ranko Veselinovic. It's a busy, busy time. And I'm loving it. It's a fantastic time for football in this province. And you just don't want it to end, really. But we'll get into all of that. We'll start, as always, by asking you how your week has been, Zach.
My week was full and busy, but nothing like yours, Michael.
Yeah, jet setting around, whistle-stop tours to Miami this past week, Winnipeg this coming week. Oh, I mean, the beautiful sights that I saw in Miami, especially on the beach. I mean, I think that'll be trumped by what I'm expecting to see in my first ever visit to Winnipeg. I've been told, people always say to me when I've been talking to a few folk about this, that the people in Winnipeg are lovely. They're very friendly.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Looking at the stadium today for your game, and the not very big looking crowd, couldn't help but wonder what that might be looking like for the game this coming week. But I mean, it's been so busy. All I've really done this week is stuff to do with football. Take my dog for a couple of walks, briefly see my wife, get over a cold, go on my trip, come back with a fresh cold, and I think I'm getting back over it again. But yeah, not much more small talk. We'll just really get into the football chat to try and keep this to within the 6-hour limit that I've set to talk about all this. And we're going to start in this part by talking about the historic night in Fort Lauderdale on Wednesday, as the Whitecaps made history, dispatching Messi's Miami. I think that is how you have to refer to it. Or Messi and Friends is the other thing that I keep seeing describing the team, which, I mean, you'd think is a bit disrespectful to the other players. And then you watch the other players, like in that defeat last week to Dallas, and then just not turning up in these two games against Vancouver. And it's an interesting Miami side. And we'll get a little bit into that as we talk about this. But I mean, you watched the game.
Mm-hmm.
Just thoughts on it and what Whitecaps have achieved in this.
Yeah, no, I got to watch it live because of was it the 5 o'clock kickoff?
Yeah.
And that evening, actually, I was home. I was hosting a group at my house for work on Wednesday evening. So I actually got to watch most of it, actually, virtually all of it.
It was over by the time you had to stop then.
That is true. That is true. That is true. But no, I mean, it was I mean, this is obviously stating the obvious, but going into the game, you thought it could kind of go two ways. You could see Miami just and their kind of four main superstars playing out of their skins and clawing their side back and dragging the rest of the team and club with them. Or you could see the Whitecaps just continue to do what they did in the first leg and really have been doing all 2025 and show consistency and quality and composure and level-headedness and all that kind of stuff and just see it out, whether that's with a win, a draw, a one-goal loss even, whatever. Like, that was kind of, more likely seeming to me. But as we talked about on the last show. But as the game started, I know and the occasion, I know you're in the stadium, so I'm sure the stadium was a buzz, but like on TV, it wasn't as buzzy as I thought it might be. Like,
No.
Am I wrong? Or was it
No,
buzzy in the stadium?
There were still tickets available.
Oh.
Which is mind-blowing to me for a semi-final.
Did they know Messi was playing?
Yeah. I mean, the traffic was absolutely horrendous to and from the stadium. And I know a lot of Miami fans were held up and missed the kickoff because it started to fill up. A lot of them probably missed the first goal as well.
They should have got a shuttle to the game.
Well, we did get a shuttle to the game, and it was meant to take 15 minutes, and it took 50, we got to the stadium at 7:20.
Oh, wow.
8 o'clock kickoff.
To be fair also to the locals, Michael, they did know ahead of time that Ryan Gold was not playing. So
true. I mean,
that would have impacted things.
Yeah. I think Vancouver, not a big draw still. And maybe folk were like, it's over now, that we're not going to win, I'm not going to go up. Because for folk that are unaware, they don't play in Miami.
Yeah.
They play in Fort Lauderdale. Now, the new stadium is going to get built in Miami, and it's near the airport, I believe, and folk are very excited about it.
This would be their second stadium this club has built, because they built this stadium, right?
I think so.
I don't think this is I think this is their own stadium. I'm pretty sure.
I mean,
they built this for their.
I liked it. I thought it was a nice stadium. One thing I've always thought, and I kind of feel this way with Orlando as well with their colour scheme, but the pink and the black is very striking. It's like when you go to this stadium and it's like black with the pink signs and writing places and the seats, the pink, the white and the black. It's a lovely looking stadium. The two weird corner stands are a bit weird, but that aside, it's a good stadium, good sight lines for everybody. Not good sight lines in the press box where you've got a pillar in front of a lot of different people. So I don't think anyone had a clear view of the whole pitch because everyone's like moving from side to side, either side of the pillar to try and see what goes on.
So you're telling me the press box is filled with obstructed view seats?
Kinda, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Mine's was. I couldn't see a lot of the middle third, but I could see two goals. Because my seat, I was seat 15, and I couldn't really see the goal. Actually, it wouldn't have mattered because there was no goal scored in that goal. The goal that no goals were scored in, I couldn't really see it from my seat. And Ben
this is with glasses on?
Yeah, because of the pillar.
Oh, right, okay.
So Ben Steiner was in seat 16, and he said, "Oh, do you want to swap?" And I was like, at first I was like, no, thinking, oh, there's a reason, there's a pillar in front of him, that's why he wants to swap. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, I can't see that goal. I was like, okay, we'll swap. I went, are you sure? Because you can't see this goal. He's like, oh yeah, I'd rather see the action in the middle of the field. I was like, okay, that's fine with me. I don't care about that.
Ben's a very nice young man.
Oh, yeah, Ben's doing tremendous work. And it was nice. I'll talk a little bit about the trip before we get into the game.
Yeah.
So as folk know, there was over 300 Whitecap supporters in attendance. And amongst those supporters, all 4 supporters groups were represented: the Southsiders, Rain City Brigade, Vancouver Albion, the South Sisters. There were players' families that were down, the WAGs were down, kids were down, front office staff, academy players, which I thought was lovely, and kind of adding to the kind of whole community club. We're all part of the same thing feel. There was like ticketing staff, marketing staff, sponsors, corporate partners. So it was great to have so many folk down. What I will say is this gave me a very good insight into what the players have to go through. Now, we flew down Tuesday. So we flew out, it was meant to be 9, it was delayed to 9:45. We got into Fort Lauderdale at 7 o'clock local time. Then the Whitecaps had put a reception on for people, so that was nice. We got some food and drink. Then I decided to stay in Hollywood Beach as opposed to at the hotel near the airport, because I thought, I'm probably never going to be here again. I may as well take advantage and see some of the beach. And it was beautiful. I really had a nice time, even though I don't like the heat. And as folk, if you saw my pictures, I think I only saw one other person wearing jeans.
Yeah, I noticed that in your photos.
Yeah. Someone was like, could you not have brought a pair of shorts with you?
Well, it is also because you're very modest.
Well, of course. Also, it all says this, I got skin cancer in 2009, which I had to get a little bit cut out. So I'm always very wary about being out in the sun, which is why I don't. Because the doctor had said, try and stay out the sun, which is very difficult unless you just go out at night, which I do a lot of the time. But no, Hollywood Beach was lovely. If anyone's going down there, I recommend staying at Hollywood Beach. It's a nice area. It feels a safe area. Har booked in there as well when she saw that I was there, so I spent some time with Har. Always fun. I want to thank Daniel Fernstein as well, who gave us a good like brunch place tip. So we went there, and yeah, it was just nice. I sat under a palm tree in the shade for a bit, just watching the people watching on the beach, which was very interesting. A mixture of gorgeous young people and old, overly tanned, wrinkly people. Very little in between.
There's a joke in there that I'm going to resist.
I got invited to a reception at Mar-a-Lago on the Wednesday, so that was nice.
You're diving into that territory.
We got an Uber from the reception on the Tuesday to our hotel, and it was a Haitian guy that was the Uber driver, really nice. And he couldn't believe that we knew Fafa Pico and Mickey Kintav.
Oh, he's Haitian.
And it's like, oh no, we know them personally. And it's like, no, you can't. What? He also didn't know Vancouver had a team in MLS, but was apparently a big Miami fan.
Sounds par for the course.
Yes. So, I mean, that was fun. The Wednesday, yeah, we got shuttled to the game, so that was nice. But what I was meaning about the insight, so after the game, the charter flew us home. So we went straight from the stadium to the airport, which was also a whole weird thing because you actually drive onto the tarmac and you're not going through the main kind of stuff. And then our plane left at 12:45 and we got back to Vancouver at 4:30 in the morning, and you're exhausted. I mean, you think the players have to go through that every 2 weeks. I think it just makes
they don't always leave right after games, though.
No, they do.
Every game?
Every game.
Oh.
And I think it just makes you appreciate even more this run that they're on.
Every game of the Champions Cup? Not MLS games. They don't leave right out. I guess.
No, they do.
Oh, yeah, because remember I told you when Saprissa was here, what did I tell you? Wasn't Kendall's flight at like 4:30 a.m. or something?
Yeah, but they didn't charter, remember?
Oh, yeah, they did.
Because all the MLS flights are chartered. Because when we have teams here, it's like RSL tonight, because we're recording this on Saturday, right after the game. RSL tonight are chartering home right after the match back to Salt Lake. It just saves them hotel costs.
Right.
But when you, like Thursday, I Thursday was a write-off, basically, for me. I came home, went to sleep for 5 hours, then got up and took the dog out. But the players are going through that constantly, and they're playing 2 games a week. So it really does give you a better appreciation for what these guys are going through and what they're achieving with that as well.
Yeah, and obviously they've really adjusted well to this kind of rhythm in their lives, right?
Yes.
Because those recovery days are massive, and you'd have to have a good plan and live it and actually live it out on those days and with the aid of your family or significant other or whatever.
Yeah. I know, because with all the games, you've got to think, and the tiredness. There's going to be some people that haven't seen their partners or their families very much these 2 months. I joked with Jesper tonight in the press conference. I said, it's been an intense start to the season. It feels like 5 months, and it's only 2.
Yeah.
Just over 2. It's like, it's crazy. They've had 19 games so far. And so many long trips as well. And another one coming up in the final, which we'll obviously talk about in the next part. But yeah, I mean, that just gives you a whole insight into what they're doing. Want to give a shout out as well to the Vancouver Albion guys that were on the trip. When I went to the toilet on the plane on the way there, got serenaded by Hot Chocolate Boy. It filled my heart with joy. But no, everyone was in good. There was singing on the plane. It was quite a quiet plane coming home despite the victory. I think everyone had just been emotionally exhausted by that point.
Oh, yeah.
Which was good. I didn't really want singing on the plane. I wanted to try and get some sleep, which I failed.
So again, just for context, it's important to say is I think so the club paid for everyone's charter, right? No one paid.
Yes, everyone had to get their own hotels.
Yeah, but the charter itself.
Yeah, the club put this on, and I think the PR that they got out of it from people around MLS and other fans were like, "Oh, we so appreciate that they wanted to have supporters there to cheer them on," and it's like a whole community club feeling. And I know folk will listen to this and go, "Well, how was it only select folk that got to go or whatever?" That's always going to be the issue in something like this. But it was like a reward for people that's like media that's covered the team for a while, corporate sponsors, front office staff that work so hard, the leaders of the various supporters groups that give a lot of their time into the stuff in the club, long time season ticket holders and stuff, the inner circle people were on the flight and things as well. So yeah, the club genuinely went above and beyond anything that it needed to do. Like a flight itself was wonderful. I'd have been like over the moon with that. But to put on receptions and all the other little bits that they did over the course of the trip as well, on the plane in Fort Lauderdale, they didn't have to do any of that. And I feel very privileged to have been able to have that experience. I like genuinely do. And I've thought a lot about that this week. I know I was joking, I'm going to Winnipeg. So I'm traveling with TSS because I'm their media officer that folk may or may not know. And like to have this life that I'm able to do these things, I am very appreciative of it. I don't take it for granted. And yeah, I mean, I've thanked like Nathan and Brandon and folk at the Caps, and just what I say again on the show, it's like went above and beyond and very much appreciate everything they did for us.
Yeah, and it shows the growth of the club, and it shows. I mean, I don't know this factually, and I don't know how things work anymore at all behind the scenes. But to me, this screams, if not his decision or his choice or whatever, it screams the influence of Axel Schuster. Like this is the kind of thing that German clubs do for their fans when they're traveling somewhere or doing like a preseason tour or whatever. They use those empty seats on the plane to bring people, right? And so, yeah, I mean, I've had friends who've gone on like, I have friends who went to postseason games before where they paid for their flight, which was more expensive than if they bought the tickets themselves for the different airline, right? So the fact that the Whitecaps owners and executives chose to go this route for this immensely special occasion, I think is really, really, really significant. And again, I think a sign of growth within the organization because, yeah, a decade ago, it would not have shaken down like that.
No, and I think the bond that everyone felt on that
totally.
trip as well.
Yeah.
Like Sinead King, Vancouver Ice's president, was on the trip. So I was chatting to Sinead over it, and she just loved the whole experience. And everyone from, like, I met lots of folk that I'd never met before, and I think it just bonded everyone together, and we all feel part of the one club, and that's what football should be about. And it does lack a lot of that, especially at the top level around the world, and especially in like North America, where sports are seen as businesses and it's more entertainment than an actual thing that you belong to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I won't get too sappy with all this, but yeah, just
So all that to say is kudos to Axel or his team or those involved in making that happen, because I think it is helpful in growing the club, I think, in a positive way.
well, we'll hear from Axel in the next part, and he was very emotional after the final whistle. We spoke to him in the car park. Like some of the setup at the stadium, although I liked the stadium, some of the setup at it was weird. In the press box, they had audio commentary of the game.
That's weird.
Especially since it was in Spanish. No idea what was going on.
Mi
It was
hermano.
bizarre.
Yeah, there was the only bizarre thing at the stadium, which I heard this before you told me about the beginning of the game.
Yes. So, in CONCACAF club games, you don't play the national anthems. The game just starts. It's always been that way.
Yeah.
If clubs want to play the anthems, they're allowed to play it before the teams come out.
All right.
So it was maybe 5 minutes to kick off or before the teams came out. And I thought, I'm going to go to the washroom now before it gets too busy. Because there was 2 washrooms for the whole top level.
Oh, wow.
So I went, I'm there, I hear Star Spangled Banner. And I was like, oh, that's weird, they're starting with that one. And then got back to the press box and the teams are coming out. And I was like, did I miss the Canadian anthem? And they're like, no, they didn't play it. Now, they don't have to play any anthem.
Yeah.
The Whitecaps played both out of respect. And if you're playing one, you should certainly play the other. Even if it's not someone singing it, you just play the music or something. It's so disrespectful not to play both anthems. You either play none or you play both.
Yeah. How much of that is like is it too much to read into that being some kind of quote unquote, people can't see I'm making quotations right now, quote unquote, a 51st statement? Like,
I don't think so. I just think it never even crossed their mind that there was another anthem that they should play. I mean, the most surprising thing to me was the anthem wasn't in Spanish. It fitted everything else. Javier Mascherano's whole press conference was in Spanish, which thankfully none of us stayed for, because the mixed zone was open, which was farcical. It was in this small tent that, I'm being generous if I said, had a capacity of 25, and there was about 50 people in it. And when we arrived there was the 2 sides, so Miami took up both sides. So we looked in, and the girl at the door's like, you either go in or you need to leave this area. And we're like, and there's maybe 7 of us and Brandon from the Whitecaps. And I said, well, we're going to go in when the Whitecaps come out. And she said, well, you all need to go now. And I'm saying, he's with the Whitecaps, pointing to Brandon. And she's like, I don't care. You're either going in now or you leave. So we didn't leave or go in. We just stood there. And, it was farcical.
yeah, that's awkward.
So then they opened the door. So instead of going behind the mixed zone bit that they had set up, we just went all around the mics and where the players were. So we were in front of everyone that had been there waiting for everyone.
Nice.
Yeah. It's like, this is nuts. And then eventually they had like every Whitecaps player had to do interviews in English and then go and do it in Spanish.
Wow.
And they only put players up that could obviously speak both.
Yeah.
Apart from Pedro Vite, who only spoke Spanish to us as well. But we asked him questions in English, so he can fully understand it. He's just not totally comfortable giving his answers. So that's fair. Yeah. But anyway, that was all that side of it. Let's get into the game itself. So going into it, I thought my prediction was 3-1 Miami. I thought it'd be 2-0, we'd score, and then they'd
More
get
away
the
goals.
third late on yet to make it a bit nervy, but we'd go through in away goals. Never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined a 3-1 victory for the Whitecaps.
Well, I know you and I are messaging. You're like the last thing I want or whatever is Miami to get an early goal.
Yeah, even on the bus to the stadium, I was sitting beside a couple of the Vancouver Albion guys, and I said that was my fear because I'll be honest, I did not enjoy that first half. My stomach was like just heart and throat. I was like, oh, this is not an enjoyable match.
No. Well, that's understandable. I mean, Miami had glimpses of what we were, talking about being worried about, right? Like, I mean, Jordi Alba is their best player right now,
Yes.
like in terms of complete football player. He showed it, I think, every time he's played against Vancouver. And he showed
Yeah,
it.
he was one of the nice guys that came last year.
Yeah. And he showed it in this game where you give him a chance like that. There's no way he's not going to take a quality shot. You could say Takaoka could have done.
No, Tackle definitely could have done better.
The only saving grace for me, unless I missed it, Michael, on that goal was I didn't see the smile from Takaoka after.
No, he did.
Oh, did he do it?
As he drank from his water.
Oh,
It was a wry smile. He knew he should have done better.
Yeah,
But like fair play to him. After that, he was
No.
unbeatable.
totally.
And
Yeah.
it's like he's like, yeah, I should have had that. That's not going to happen to me again.
Not going to happen again. Yeah.
But I mean,
But-
that goal 9 minutes in, like you knew Miami were going to take the game to the Whitecaps from the start. And I thought if we can get through the first 10 or 15 and they don't score, I can relax a little bit. So as soon as they scored 9 minutes in, I was like, okay, this is going to be a long and comfortable evening. Because immediately you get the crowd in.
Yes.
And they'd given the crowd flags to wave and various things. And they were right into it at that point. And the goal...
Did any of them block your view?
No, they were small flags.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I didn't want to have to put a complaint in. I believe they may have got a few emails, half a dozen or something, complaining about it. But I think it was fine aside from that. But the goal itself saw Luis Suarez's best contribution in 180 minutes.
Yeah.
Mostly because I think he couldn't really move, so he thought, I'm just going to play the ball to the outside. I'm being a bit facetious, but
Well, but it was the wide open man with streaking into a channel that
yeah. I mean, he could have ran into the box, but I think he thought, no, that's the better thing. So Messi plays it to Suarez, touch to the outside. Alba's made a run, and I think it stems really. Sabi didn't track back, and Ocampo had been pulled into the middle, so he wasn't out there. And when you look at it, you're like, oh, it's Ocampo's fault. But then when you watch it back, it's Sabi needed to track Alba there.
It was the one kind of thing I was a little bit worried about for them with starting Sabi in this game. Was his maybe slightly less defensive, responsible kind of play.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And it is something that he's maybe not had to do a lot in his career, and it's different in MLS especially. It's like you need your forward players to be doing this. But one blip in the game, I think he did well after that, and him and Ocampo were then on the same page, because they haven't played a lot together. And I think it was just a little misunderstanding there. But Alba took it well, even though Takaoka should have kept it out. And yeah, it's like, eek. But then the Whitecaps settled and they had their chances, and Sabi had the best of the chances. A 2-on-1 breakaway helped by a slip by Falcon, who has not impressed me in these two games at all. I don't really like what I've seen from him back there. But Brian White unselfishly gives it to Sabi, who's wide open, and it just runs away. It's like a touch just slightly takes it away from him, which forces him wide, and then the angle's gone. And I think he was off balance so that he couldn't hit it to the far post. Mm-hmm. So went for the near, and then it's the outside of the post, and you're like, oh, that was the chance maybe.
Yeah.
Whitecaps score then, and you feel it could be game over.
Yeah, it was a big moment, and it was like you said, a huge let off for Miami.
Yeah. Vite had a chance as well, and Miami had some chances, but the chances Miami were getting were again from kind of in and around the edge of the box. So there was no like clear-cut one. It's like, oh, that should be buried or whatever. So the half was ticking down. I was starting to relax a little, thinking, oh, if we can get to half-time, just to one down, we'll regroup and I'll be a bit more confident. Then came the heartbreaking moment towards the end of the half when Sebastian Berhalter, who is even more agonising because the booking he got in the first leg, he got 4 minutes into stoppage time.
Mm-hmm.
This one, it was a clumsy challenge. I think it was a fair booking. But you saw right away on his face, he knew, oh, I'm going to miss the final. And it was an exasperation and just kind of like, oh.
Yeah.
And I was worried. And I've mentioned this in the extra podcast we put out, and I mentioned it when I was speaking to Seb after the game. My mind went back to Gaza in 1990 at Italia 90.
Yeah.
When he got that booking that was going to rule him out of the final, and he just visibly went. He was in tears. There's a famous bit, Gary Lineker's going to the bench. You need to get him off because he's mentally gone.
Yeah.
And you don't know how a player's going to react to that. What Sebastian Berhalter did and what he reacted was like, right, I'm missing the final. This second half is going to be my cup final, and it was.
Mentality monster, yeah, for sure. It was huge.
It's horrible having that they're not wiped for a final.
I was going to say, like, so one of the things I was going to ask you about in this is that FIFA has gone out of their way in some of their major tournaments to stop this from happening. I mean, you mentioned Gaza, the 2000, I want to say 2002 World Cup. Michael Ballack for Germany, I think, missed it because of accumulations of yellow cards. And I know in previous tournaments, FIFA have done a thing where they wipe things out so that you can't miss the final.
I mean, they wiped it out before the semis.
Right. Okay. So that's how the mechanism worked in this. Okay.
But I feel if it was a red card, fair enough.
Yeah.
It's the final. But for 2 yellows, because Redondo was going to have missed it if Miami had got in. And it's like, I'm sure if it had been Messi that had got 2 yellows, somehow they would have been rescinded there'd be a new rule. Oh, we forgot to mention, actually, we're doing it for the final as well.
Yeah.
Nothing would put it past them to actually say, oh, no, we are going to actually rescind this for the final. Probably not, but...
Because like I messaged you, like, this is a massive blow. And if like a year or 2 years ago, one of us had said, you know what would be the worst for the Whitecaps in a final of any kind is for Sebastian Berhalter not to be available, you would have been like, what are you talking about? But like, he has grown leaps and bounds and is in the form of his life. And he is going to be a huge miss for them in this final. Yeah.
Like, taking Brian White and his goals out of it, you look at the 2 best Whitecaps right now, and I think it's a strong argument to say it's Pedro Vite and Sebastian Berhalter.
Yeah.
Tristan Blackman's not far behind as well with form.
That's a good show.
But those two, and like they made the best 11 for the semi-finals by CONCACAF. 3 of the 4 teams were represented in that best 11. Miami, not one player.
Rightfully so.
Very telling, yes. But like, he's been so good. He's been the engine in that midfield. The work that he does allows Kubas then to be the destroyer in the DM role that we know that he is, and allows Vite to have that freedom to do the other stuff offensively.
But then, and we talked about things on the last show a little bit, or in part, is that's the thing. He's grown into be a complete footballer where, he does the defensive work. He's an engine. He's a bit of a leader out there, but then he scores simple goals, or he can score simple goals, but he scores high quality goals. He scores from distance and he sets up goals, right? Like,
his assist this year, it's really added to his game.
Totally.
And like, I'm heartbroken for him, because I've got to know him a little bit the last few months. We've talked to him 3 times now in the show, and he's one of the nicest guys. Like, they're all nice guys in the team, but like, he genuinely comes across as just such a down-to-earth guy. And even afterwards, when I was speaking to him in the post-game and I asked him about it, it was just like resignation. He knows, and he's like, I could have let it affect me, but it's like, I want this team to get to the final. And if I miss it, so be it. And he came out in that second half and had his cup final. in that second half.
Yeah.
And there was a change at half time. And it's been interesting watching some of like Thursday was not really functioning. So I was just watching as much stuff on YouTube as I can about the game. So I watched some Miami podcast and analysis. And from the Miami side, one of the big criticisms was Mascherano in both legs, but particularly this one, did not react to what was happening out there. Whereas Jesper at halftime brought Sam in because Tate Johnson had done well, was standing up to Busquets, who was trying to manhandle him, but he was on a yellow card. And Jesper knew they were going to target him in that second half. So they brought Sam in.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. Did Mascherano not put out the exact same starting 11?
Exact same starting 11.
Yeah, it
did not look good in the first leg.
It did not look good, and it just felt like so lazy. It felt, and I'm again, I mean,
but like we'll talk a little bit about Miami. Fafa Pico,
exactly. Fafa Pico,
no minutes in either leg.
It's unbelievable.
He starts today and scores the first goal.
Yep. And they crushed Dead Bull.
Yeah. Suarez did nothing over the two games, played the whole 180 minutes.
I mean, he did make the one pass, but yeah, you're right.
Well, yeah, but yes. And then I'll talk about this now. I was going to talk about it when we got to that point of the game. When it's 3-1 to the Whitecaps, there was the moment where he's in an offside position and the ball comes to him and he tries to chip Yohei and he hits it off the bar. So when you're in the press box, you're told you have to be respectful. You can't do any cheering or whatever. Now, when the Whitecaps goals went in, I'm not saying we were quiet, but we weren't too loud. It was more like, yes, stuff like that. So I was just, by the time I was 3-1, I was loving just the game. I was relaxed. I was enjoying it, kind of forgetting I was working in the press box. So the ball comes through to Suarez, and I'm like, he's offside! Because the flag hadn't gone up. And then he chipped it, and way louder than I meant, I go, and he's still missed! And I was like, sorry, that was louder than I meant that to be. And Alex and Ben just cracked, they went. It was just natural.
Were there any other outpourings during the game for me? Like any, like
no, I was quite good. I was just like,
because I've been in a few of those Cascadia press boxes before where you can feel the tension in the space when there's Seattle people in Portland.
Oh, the best one of that, like that game where Kakuta scored the hat trick.
Oh yeah.
The Seattle media were not a happy bunch, and we were like, oh, yuck. But yeah, that was the Suarez thing. So the second half, 2 goals in 2 minutes, just as it was drawn up by everyone, it was game over. So at 51st minute, it's a beautiful play altogether. So the long ball gets forward, Sebastian Berhalter cuts it back to Brian White, and Brian White's movement on this goal is like world class. The 2 Miami defenders take a couple of steps forward, Brian White takes a step back, he's wide open, and that finish, deft to the back post.
We've talked about in the build-up to the series of how Miami has spent very little money on other parts of their team, and specifically their defending. And I think center back is where a lot of it stands, and keeping. We've talked about a lot of it where it stands out. And yeah, the composure, the discernment from Brian White, is very kind of next level, especially compared to who he was playing against. And it was just that moment where you're just like, okay, yeah. I mean, it was the first moment of the game where you're like, okay, it's done. Like they've been able to do everything they need to do. Miami now needs to score 3 goals.
Yeah.
Even though there's 40 minutes or whatever left, or just under 40 minutes left, that's not happening.
No. And you got to give a big hat tip to Ali Ahmed as well for setting Berhalter up. Now, I didn't think Ali had a good first half.
Neither did Kirk.
He was out of position a few times, didn't read the plays very well. Second half, though, absolute beast.
He did step it up. Yeah, he totally did step it up.
And I mean, it's probably just over 60 seconds between goal one and goal two. So straight from kickoff, the Whitecaps win the ball back. Vite plays a perfectly weighted long ball forward from the middle of his own half, pretty much. It springs Ali up the left wing. Ahmed's low cross deflects to... I mean, there's an element of fortune in this goal. There's no getting away from that. Because it deflects to Berhalter. He touches it back to Vite, who's then made the run from his own half to the edge of the box. And then his shot is deflected and it loops high over Ustari into the net. And Ustari just kind of gives up on it. He wouldn't have got it anyway, but it's like dreamland by that point.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was, when I first saw it, I was just like, wait, did he just chip that?
I know, but I saw it. That's what I thought as well.
And I saw the first replay from one side. I was like, I think he chipped that. And then I was like, oh, okay, there's a wicked deflection that, because it looked like
which is disappointing because a chip from there would have just been like, that's world class as well.
But then again, you're just like, it doesn't matter. It was like, okay, now they're just putting like nails in the coffin, right? They're just like going around the coffin and just like hammering in nails.
Yeah, I mean, by that point, I was relaxed. I was fairly relaxed after that first goal, but to get the two in quick succession, I was like, oh, I can enjoy this occasion now because that is it. They are dead and buried. There is no way that they're coming back. I mean, the third goal as well. It's a good goal. There's also a slight element of luck. Do you know? It's only when I got back and I watched it that I realised Berhalter's shot took a deflection. I thought he had just rifled it home.
Yeah.
They didn't have replays in the press box either. So I was watching it back, it's like, oh, there's a deflection that kind of wrong foots the keeper. But again, another well-worked move in the build-up play to it.
It's one of his goals that's not a banger, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it was just like, they're making this emphatic now.
Yeah.
I feel bad. I apologize for not messaging you. You know, what time is it? Because it was on aggregate, it was 5 past.
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that. Oh.
I thought about that after. I was like, oh.
Oh, that would have been good. I want to give kudos to Rios for his play in this third goal as well. So, I can't remember what Miami player it was. It might have been Noah Allen, actually. So Rios had given up a free kick. I think it was Noah Allen. And then there was a little bit of afters between Allen and Rios. And that's what kept Rios up the park instead of like tracking back again. So then they take the free kick. Kremaski, his clearance hits off Ahmed's face, falls straight to Rios, little back heel back to Ahmed, who'd made that overlapping run by that point. He gets in the box, his shot's blocked, the rebound falls to Sabi, kind of nudges it down perfectly for Berhalter, and then he just blasts it home with the aid of a deflection. Miami tried to get a couple of things, they hit the woodwork a couple of times as well, but I mean, it was very much evident that Vancouver is a team. They play as a team, they play for each other, they're interchangeable. They're not necessarily weakened when you're changing the parts, as we've talked about so much this year. Miami, it was clear in these two games that they're a group of individuals. They're not a team. They're not a well-rounded team.
No, it's weird because if you watch the Dead Bull highlights from today, if you watch them play Red Bull New York, there's was it 4-1?
4-1, yeah.
4-1, yeah. They're just smashing in the goals for fun. They're celebrating like it's like they won a big match and like there's just kind of things have moved on, but like the ease at which they were performing, you're just like, yeah, where was any of this? Can
they do it on a warm night in Fort Lauderdale on a Wednesday?
Or a weird, what was it, Thursday?
A weird Thursday night
BC place?
Slightly chilly BC place.
It just, like I said, and that's why going into it, you were like, okay, they could be lights out, but they could also be the same as they were at BC Place, and it'll be a pretty simple game for the Whitecaps.
Because the second half that Miami put in against LAFC was sublime stuff.
Yeah.
But I think you also then have to give the credit to the Whitecaps because they didn't let them play that game.
That is a very important point, and that's a very significant thing when you want to evaluate Jesper Sorensen in this.
Yes. I think Tristan mentioned at training on Friday, I think it was Tristan Blackman that mentioned it, that their game plan had been we double team Messi. And it worked to perfection. And they'd managed to do that without giving space up anywhere else on the pitch.
Yeah.
And as the game went on and the old legs tired, the young, sprightly Whitecaps took full advantage of that. I mean, the only disappointment is they didn't get a few more goals, which would have been nice. But you look at Miami, and they traded Robert Taylor,
Yeah.
who I thought was magnificent for them last year.
Good.
And when
Yeah.
he was here at BC Place, he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's like, why have you got rid of him? I would take him here in a heartbeat. Julian Gressel, who I'd still love to have back here.
What's
No,
the
he
deal?
doesn't fit in our plan.
I totally forgot about that. So I had to I looked that up, and then it was like, oh yeah, he's in Minnesota. I knew that beforehand, but then I looked it up, and I don't know if he got on the pitch today. I know he started on the bench, but it said somewhere I was reading he hasn't played a game for them yet. Is he injured or something? Like what's that? Because he was a dude who
He hadn't played this year for them at all. He didn't fit Mascherano's system, apparently.
No, sorry, man. Like in Minnesota, he hasn't played a minute yet either.
Oh, well, he's just joined them. Like it only became official on Tuesday or something.
Okay, that's
There was some.
Why?
I believe the league had to get involved.
Because they had too many.
They had to make him a free agent.
Oh, okay.
I
I
or
totally
something because Minnesota didn't have the rights. They didn't. They were too low down the pecking order to get him with whatever mechanism he was going to be on. So deals had to be cut.
But how did he not? How can Mascherano justify not using him before that?
Because he didn't fit his system, whatever that system seems to be.
What a
Well,
hard
actually, we know what the system is. It's like give the ball to Messi and see what he can do with it.
Well, like that's so moronic. Sorry, I missed that part of it.
No, I totally agree.
Okay, that's moronic. Like that shows. Well, maybe who knows? I guess maybe I'd have been like, yeah, Messi was like, I don't really want him on the team. Who knows? It could be something like that.
Maybe
Like,
Spanish wasn't up to scratch. I don't know. Because all the training's done in Spanish.
yeah,
We learned that last year from talking to some of the Miami media. And it's like, the other thing as well is, and whether this is true or not, I don't know, but it's out there in the ether that Luis Suarez won't get taken off unless he says he wants to come off.
Oh yeah, were you talking to me about that?
Yeah.
Someone talked to me about that?
And the other thing that I learned from watching the Miami podcast afterwards, apparently earlier this season, Mascherano said, yeah, I won't tell Sergio Busquets how to play, because he's a better defensive midfielder than me. So what can I teach him about playing that position?
Such a moronic thing to say. You're the coach.
Yeah.
Tell him
You
what you
can't
want.
have the players dictating how the team plays or what they do.
No. And also, aren't they not supposed to be like your buddies?
Well, that's the big problem as well.
No, but that's what I mean. Wouldn't they listen to you if you're like, hey guys, look, it's not working in it didn't work in the first leg. We need to change it up a bit. Like I don't know.
Louis, you have to somehow be able to run.
Yeah. We need double the cortisone shots in this game.
He had the slowest sprint to get onto a through ball that I've seen. He got onto it and then fired it wide, but it's like, I know he scored today.
The Julian Gressel thing, I totally missed that because I saw Vancouver fans saying, "Oh, we might get to see Julian Gressel," and I was like, "What's going on with him?" And then, I must have looked it up after Tuesday. Then, what was the game? It was Wednesday night, right?
Yes.
Maybe I looked it up on Wednesday.
I'm pretty sure it was Wednesday when we were at the airport that the news had come out that it had been finalised because it was rumoured last week and then hadn't gone through. But, I mean, you've got the fact that Fafa didn't play. Frey didn't come on, who has been good when I've seen him play. But, I mean, obviously, they can turn it on like they did today.
Yeah.
But again, that just shows how good the Whitecaps game plan was and how they played.
Yep.
Last couple of things for this part. There was over 100 media there, and we were told it's the most media that's been at an Inter-Miami match ever.
Wow.
More than Messi's debut.
You're that special.
That's how big the Whitecaps are. And there was, like, obviously travelling Whitecaps media there, and there's probably not usually travelling media either. But I mean, from watching various podcasts and talking heads and different things around the continent, but mostly American, this has put Vancouver on the map. Folk are talking about this team. This run has really put the Whitecaps on people's radar. Now, a lot of the Americans are focusing on like the performances of Berhalter and Brian White and Tristan Blackman and Tate Johnson, the American contingent, and rightly so, because they've all been magnificent. And that's, I think, helped. And I asked the Whitecaps yesterday at training, I went, I take it you're getting a lot of media requests now from all over the place. And they're like, oh, yeah. And it's so funny because when I wrote for MLS website, they told me, yeah, we don't really need a lot of Vancouver stuff because nobody really cares about the players that's on the team.
Yeah, and the interest in the Americans is not surprising. It's an American league. Of course, the Americans are going to want to know about those players first. Plus, Brian White is, like you said, one of the focal points of the entire team.
Yeah.
So, and Berhalter has become one of the focal points, especially that's even been augmented with, Gold sideline, right? So,
Well, now they're talking about Berhalter because the talk had been, oh, he might make the Olympics team, and then he didn't. Now it's like, oh, we think he's going to be at the Gold Cup.
Yeah. And he doesn't have to worry about the nepotism part.
Yes. Crazy, crazy stuff. It also makes you wonder as well, what clubs are going to come in for these guys?
Yeah.
Within MLS, with a new cash thing, outside MLS. Now, I don't see Axel or the Whitecaps trading within MLS, any of the guys. If there's offers come in from overseas, though, that's a whole different ball game. You don't want to stand in a player's way of getting a dream move to Europe, for example.
Yeah. You and I haven't talked about this for a while. How does that side of things, plus the run itself, impact the Whitecaps are for sale thing?
I think it can only be positive.
Positive in the sense that it makes them makes the club more sellable, and obviously makes those individuals more sellable, which can make the current owners money.
Possibly. I mean, it could be like, oh, this is a great team. I like how the city's got behind them. Yeah, we don't mind buying this team and keeping them in Vancouver. Like, you just need somebody with money that's had their imagination captured by this run. And it can happen. I know it sounds far-fetched, but I mean, it can happen. You could have folk contacting Jeff Mallett and saying, hey, Jeff, let's talk about this. You can still be part of it. And this seems a really good group, a fun team. And we like the coach. But I mean, even Jesper, if he continues as he has for the year, there's a good chance European teams could be like, oh, let's look at this Danish coach.
Totally. Yeah, that's true. I think with him, it's more, I mean, there's that possibility, but I think for him, it'd be more like twofold in this. One, I think if things go well this year, let's say the Whitecaps do better than they ever done in the MLS playoffs, maybe get a shield or close to the shield. They get third, fourth Voyageurs Cup in a row. I mean, that's if they beat TSS. If they beat
I was going which right now the opposition in that is looking not that strong.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But for him, will it be, hey, I achieved stuff? Yeah, I can go get a bigger job somewhere else, or will him?
I mean, he could get the Danish national team.
Yeah, but for him will be, I want to prove it more, and for suitors will be like, we want to see if he can do this over a longer period of time, as opposed to, was this just quote unquote like a lightning in the bottle?
Yes, no, that's fair. And it's like, if you're the owner of one of those clubs, it's like, it's a gamble.
Yeah, that
he can go and replicate what he's done here. Because
we've talked about it not so much in that lightning in a bottle sense, but more of a good group of players that needed a fresh voice breathing that life into them as a squad. Plus, I think it's fair to say some significant both upgrades and additions. Upgrades. You think of Sabby as a winger, Jaden Nelson as a winger, which is also a function of a new coach with a different approach. I think Rios is one of those support players. I think you think of Tate Johnson as, like, again, another player who's come in and played a bigger role than maybe people thought from the get-go, and done exceptionally well.
And is unfazed by the whole thing.
Yeah.
And just takes it all in his stride.
And then players like Berhalter and Vite kind of hitting either playing above themselves or hitting a whole new level that is now their level, right? So
yeah. I mean, Jesper was asked today, "Oh, what's the formula for the success?" And he's like, "Well, I wish I knew." I
Yeah,
was like, "I wish there was one." It's like everyone wants to know how to do this. It's just everything's come together. He's given this group belief,
yeah,
and he's given them significant minutes with this rotation that we've talked about because of
yeah,
all the games, and that has helped thoroughly.
totally.
In
And,
MLS play as well, it's also helped that a lot of teams in the West have not had very good starts.
true. But I also think that the different approach is huge, which impacted those additions, because I don't think you bring in players like Nelson and Sabi if you're not going to focus on the wide areas more. And their pace, I think, has added so much to the squad as a whole
Hmm.
another outlet, like outlets or another options, but also in creating space for the internal, come more central guys to operate within.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look, we'll get to this in part three, but like Nelson's performance tonight, that
Yeah,
first half
yeah,
hour was like sublime
yeah. Well, he was
stuff.
the man of the match, or was he not? Or
Well, I don't know, I didn't even see that, but I mean, he should be
yeah,
because
I think he was.
yeah, he was unplayable for that first half hour. Last little bit, Global TV went down, made the trip, did some stuff before the game, during, after the game. They've been so supportive of the Whitecaps. They're always at training. Asa does the play-by-play on the radio. Jay Janower's at training a lot, and they have folk on the show, and they've always been great. Conspicuous by their absence, TSN and Sportsnet. It's like you'd think at least one of them would have wanted to be down to cover and document this trip.
Well, Sportsman doesn't do football at all, right? Oh, is it
But
sorry, FA Cup?
they
Is that
do
what they have?
FA Cup, yeah.
Yeah, so they don't do football at all. And I
In
mean,
TSN show MLS games, but obviously they don't have the rights to this tournament.
and yeah, for them, it's are they going to pay for this? Was it worth it paying for them? Whatever. I mean, who was there was One Soccer. Like that is who is
Yes.
football in Canada.
Yep. Christian
At
Jack
a
went
club level.
down.
Totally. Yeah, he was there. I thought the coverage was good. There is this sense of from One Soccer of, everyone get behind the Canadian club, right? Which I understand there's two different perspectives on that,
I
right?
know. If it was Toronto, I'd want them to lose in the final. But well, I
Yeah,
did want them to lose in the final and Montreal.
it's
I'll
yes.
be honest,
Yeah.
because I
So
always joked. I said, "Oh, because I want the Whitecaps to be the first MLS team to win it." Never in a million years thinking we're ever going to get there at any point.
other people care about it, Michael, so much so that I didn't tell you about this specifically, although I mentioned it to you indirectly. On the post-match, the post-match media availability for York versus Cavalry, one of the people in the room in York thought it very important to get Tommy's perspective on the third Canadian team making a final of this tournament.
You're
And Tom,
kidding.
oh, I'm not kidding you, Mike. And Tommy was diplomatic as always and had a great answer of like, hey, we're trying to grow the game in this country. This is great for football in our country, right? Which is both, that's who Tommy is if you know him, but also diplomatic and positive and encouraging and stuff. But it was just really awkward, like, okay,
I
this is
mean, I see asking that maybe pre-game or something, just while we're on, just to get
yeah,
your thoughts on this,
not
but
not
post-game?
post game after you just won an away match and you're in the
It'd
room.
be more awkward if they hadn't won it.
And I don't think they asked Mauro Estacchio about that, right?
Yeah,
So
that would be good then. But yeah, it'd be nice to see them on board. I don't want them getting on board now either. It's like, no, you had your chance. Don't
right.
think you can kind of catch some flights down there to cover it or whatever. But yeah, I mean, great performance all round. And we know what it's down to. Jesper, the players, and of course, lucky hat, lucky hat, which I've got out of my safe. It'll be locked back in the safe after this podcast recording. This will be under lock and key now until June 1st. Not getting worn at any other point. It is the lucky hat.
I can just hear like local like Vancouver Cruz Azul fans trying to get to your house to get your lucky hat from your vault.
I'm just waiting for the BC Soccer Hall of Fame to get in touch to get that put in there.
I think they have to win the
there.
title for that to happen.
Well, yeah. But I mean, obviously, superstitions. We did it on last week's show. We're going to do it again because I asked Ranko Veselinovic and Tate Johnson if they have any football superstitions or routines. Here's what they had to tell me. Football superstitions. Not this hat, but I have a hat I've worn for every game, and we've won every game. I bought it down in Oregon last year before the Portland game, so I've been wearing it for the big games, and we've never lost while I'm wearing it. Took it down to Miami and I wore it. Do you have any little superstitions or anything? Yeah, it's going to get locked away now to the final. Do you have any superstitions or any routines that you have to do before a game?
I've had those things, like superstitions maybe, when I was younger, I was doing a lot of, but not anymore. Like, I've had games when I didn't do it, and I played games, so I'm good now,
I know.
But, I have some routines, that's for sure. Routines that I do before every game, but I wouldn't call it, like, superstitious.
Do you have any football superstitions? Is there anything you have to do before a game? Do you have to, like, dress the same way, put a boot on first, or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm not super superstitious, I would say. I try to keep it pretty chill on game days, I would say. I don't wear headphones when I'm entering the stadium and stuff. I would say if you call that a superstition, I don't really like to listen to too much music like in my headphones. I don't know, it's just kind of something I've always done. I like to be kind of in the moment, hear everything, see everything. So yeah, it's just something I do.
So I spoke to Ranko first, and he had said, I had them when I was a kid. So I thought, Tate Johnson, I'll ask him what he's got. He's still a kid. And he's not really got superstitions, and it's more his routine. I like his answer. He doesn't listen to music going into the stadium or at the stadium. It's through headphones. He just wants to take in the whole surroundings, like just naturally. And it's like, I love Tate. He's just like, everything about him is just fantastic. But yeah, that was a long part talking about Wednesday night. What more could there be to say? A lot more. And we're going to be back in part 2 doing just that after the first song from our new album of the month.
Hi, I'm Sebastian Berhalter, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
I am a healthy white boy with 10 fingers and toes. This way no one ever knows. And what I'm giving you, girl, you take it gratefully, 'cause it's much more than you gave me. You can call me daddy, baby. Call me daddy. You can call me daddy. That's what I am. That's what I They treat me like a god now. I have so much appeal. Well, that's not the way I feel. So do you have two mothers? Or do you have two dads? Or do you have to be somewhere instead? You can call me daddy, baby. Call me daddy. You can call me daddy. That's what I am. That's what I am.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, our first song from our new album of the month for May, Glasgow band Baby Chaos. That was the first song on their debut album, Safe Sex, Designer Drugs, and the Death of Rock and Roll, released in October 1994, released over here in the summer of 1995, and that's actually, I bought the album in Tower Records in San Francisco. I always remember doing it. Yeah. But that, Zach, was sperm. It's all about sperm donating.
Oh,
Not necessarily the official way.
I have no questions for you both.
Oh, I've got more to tell you, so it's okay. I don't need your questions. So, for example, say a lady wants to get pregnant.
Oh my goodness!
But she doesn't really want to be in a relationship. She kind of uses a man for his sperm.
Ah, yes.
Anyway, the band, that was their debut album. That's our album of the month for May. They were in existence from 1993 to 1998. Then went on a very long hiatus to 2013. Came back then. They're still going today. Just released a new album last year or the year before. Their debut album for me is still their best work by a mile, and we've got another song coming up from it in the show, and we'll have more over the course of the month. One of them, I think we'll play it next week. I've got a t-shirt for the song, and I've been doing some fun stuff with the players at training the last couple of weeks around the song. Nothing to do with sperm, just to put your mind at ease.
There you go.
And Nathan's, if he's listening to this.
Kirk's happy for that as well.
Yes. So we're going to talk more Whitecaps getting into the CONCACAF Champions Cup final in this part. We're going to kick it off with some audio. So going to bring you some audio from the man that has got the team to this point, head coach Jesper Sorensen. A question that I asked him in the post-game to kick it off, and then just some stuff I was chatting to him about at training on Friday. Here's the gaffer. Jesper, first of all, congratulations on getting to the final. It's a monumental occasion for the club, for the players, for yourself. Hard to ask you this 15 minutes after the final whistle, but what's the feelings, what's the emotions like for you right now?
I'm just so happy for everybody in the club. For me, I'm relatively new, and I've not had the struggle to come this far with the club. But I know that a lot of people have. A lot of people have working for many years in the club have not seen this moment, and I think that it's great for everybody in the club, for the fans. Maybe we can also rally in the city of Vancouver behind the team even more, and hopefully excite people. I think also I need to say here that I would like to thank Miami for 2 great games, because they have a great team, and it's not always easy for them, because they have these players to come in with all the pressure upon them. But I think that it was 2 great games, and we came out on top. It could have gone a little bit different, especially with the goal in the first half. But I'm very happy for the players. I'm very happy for everybody working in the club, and I think it's great also for our fans that we get this moment. I hope we can enjoy it.
Watching you on Wednesday during the game, you were so animated, even when it was like 2-1, even when it was 3-1. You were yelling. You were just really still in the zone. Do you allow yourself during the game to enjoy any of that experience, or was it a horrible 90 minutes for you?
You know, it's like I don't really know. I don't enjoy on the way, or I don't. It's not horrible. It's just maybe I'm a little bit too pessimistic. We talked about switching Tristan, take him out because he had a yellow card, and we didn't want anything to happen in there. And I was like, yeah, but we also have to we also have to win, because if we win, we have the chance of playing at home. And I didn't want to mix up too much, but of course the other guys kept cool, and we made the right choices, I think. Also because Bilal is ready to go in and play. But you know, it's when the game is on, I think it's very difficult to enjoy. You want to stay in the moment, and also all the time, you know, make sure that the team will not all of a sudden crack up or you know, starting to relax too much too early.
What's the reaction been like in Denmark? Have you had people getting in touch with you? Have you had players getting in touch going, oh, this looks an interesting team?
Yeah, I think I had a lot of people commenting and texting me and stuff. So I think that has been great. Mostly friends though. So they are quite positive on beforehand, but okay. No, it's been noticed, and MLS is not big in Denmark, mainly also because of the time when we play. It's very difficult to watch live, and you always want to watch sports when it happens. So I think some have definitely started noticing that it might be interesting also because of the results we've been able to create. So I think the word is out there maybe.
Have you had a chance yourself to kind of sit back at all and be like, wow, what a few months this has been?
People remind me that I have to do that, but when the games comes up this fast, it's really difficult. I would have to say, the first thing you do when you get into the plane after Miami, is that you start thinking about what will the lineup be against Real Salt Lake. We don't have that much time, and we have to. Yesterday was the day off for everybody, and that was well deserved, also because of a long travel. But then when we meet in this morning, we have to be prepared on showing the players the main themes about the Real Salt Lake. We have to have a lineup coming up, and we have to get out and practice it. And so, no, I'm not sitting back that much. I enjoy the moment. I enjoy that we are doing well, and I know that normally it can be very heavy, and you don't win the games, and then it's you really think and speculate and about everything. Right now, it's a little lighter to being a coach, and that's very nice.
He's the gaffer. You can try it on with him. He's the gaffer. Even when he's on a limb. He's the gaffer. When his back's against the wall, has the answer to it all.
So the gaffer there, I mean, we've talked about what a fantastic job he's doing. I liked his answer in the post-game that he's new here. He doesn't really know everything that's happened before, but he does know what this means to the club and to the community and the fans, and it's a special moment. He was asked if he'd watched the Cruz Azul game on Thursday, and he's like, no, I haven't watched it yet. He's plenty of time to do his prep, because his brother's over visiting him from Denmark.
Oh.
Because his brother's running the marathon on Sunday here. So he's come over to run that and see him. His brother was at training on Friday, and me, JJ and Gemma all thought the guy sitting on the ground watching training was Jesper. It was his brother. They are identical. Although he did joke their hair's a little bit different. They're both very bald.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have him over and seeing this success. I mean, Jesper's just done fantastic stuff with the team. And another man that I think we can give a lot of flowers to for the Whitecaps' run to the final, to this season so far, and his building of the squad this year and in previous years, because there's not been a lot of turnover, is Whitecaps CEO Axel Schuster. He came to say hi to us after all the post-game media on Wednesday, and he was very emotional. So, of course, we immediately stuck a microphone in his face to ask him a question, which we'll get into in a second, about where does this stand in Whitecaps history. Here's what he had to say about that.
In my history, it obviously ranks on number one. But I can tell you, if you would have asked me before the season to paint it down, what is the best possible that can happen, that's better. That's definitely better. By what I get from some people who are following this club since ever, people like Carl Valentine, Jeff Mallett, I have the feeling that this is definitely the number two now after what happened 79.
What if they win it? What if you guys win it?
We will find out. Let's focus on RSL on Saturday. That's first, and then we will see what our feeling is after the final. But honestly, there are a few open questions as well. Do we host it or not? If you host it, it is obviously even a bigger thing. But now we just enjoy, and I think everyone is tired also because it was a big battle. And I cannot tell you how how proud I am for all those guys and everyone who's working in this club and everyone who is longer in this club than me, because I have hugged a few people on the pitch who were crying because they had to suffer a lot in this club. And it was also to get to a point that we go to such a game with confidence and belief in the Vancouver Whitecaps, and then we get this into our DNA that we can win. No matter what. It doesn't matter who is the opponent. It doesn't matter how difficult it is for us. We are a team that can beat everyone, and I think this is the proof today. The way the team came back after we conceded the first goal and just at some point said, doesn't matter if they score another one, we will score. And if we score, they will not win here or they will not get eliminated us. So, yeah. I think to answer the questions shortly, probably the second best in history so far, but we are working on it.
Maybe the best.
We're working on it. We're working on it. A work in progress.
Super.
So an emotional Axel Schuster. There was tears in his eyes. And as he spoke about, like on the pitch, there was tears from people that's been involved in this club for a long time. Just such an emotional moment for them. Because there's not been that many highs, as you know. There's been a lot of lows, especially pre-COVID with everything that was going on with the women's team stuff, historic stuff before Axel was here. And for a lot of people that's had to deal with a lot of the stuff that's happened at the club, it's been very emotional for them. Did you see, I retweeted this, I only saw it yesterday. Sarita had been filming the reaction from Matty Laborda and Ryan Gold for the 3 goals.
Yeah, I saw your tweet.
Oh, beautiful footage.
I like how you're like, his knee looks okay.
Yeah, I think Matty Laborda was holding him back from running on the pitch. But his knee looked totally fine as he's jumping up and down. But it was just great to see that and that reaction of what it meant to them as well. But let's get a little bit into this, about where this ranks for the Whitecaps in their history, and also the impact, not in Montreal, the impact it's going to have on the team in the city. Now, they're now 90 minutes away from the 2029 FIFA Club World Cup, which we've talked about, which in itself seems crazy to be talking about. But also, a little known fact, if they win the Champions Cup, they're going to be playing in a FIFA tournament in December, which, judging on where previous ones have been held, I think we're heading to the Middle East. Maybe Qatar, where it was held last year, but it's also been held in Saudi and United Arab Emirates before. But it has to be a neutral venue, so we can't have it here. Because it would be a great precursor to the World Cup as an event. But what I'm talking about, and there's going to be a lot of folk listening to this that's never heard of this tournament, the 2025 FIFA Inter-continental Cup.
Yeah, which is just a replacement of the FIFA Club World Cup that became the...
Yeah, because it's every 4 years now.
Yeah,
clubs apparently said to FIFA, we want you to have this tournament still on a yearly basis. So the first one was held last December.
Yeah.
In Qatar. Real Madrid beat Pachuca, the CONCACAF champions, 3-0 in the final. And the Whitecaps are now 90 minutes from this year's tournament. Now, the tournament, for those that don't know, it features all 6 current Confederation Premier Club competition champions. In other words, the 6 Champions League champs. Let's call it Champions League. It's a very convoluted format to get to the winner. The UEFA Champions League winner is guaranteed a place in the final. I think that's how they got UEFA on board.
Yeah, because before it was a minimum 2 games for the UEFA teams, and I think that was too much, especially that time of year for them.
Yeah, and if the format is the same, which it looks like it would be for this year, how it would work out is the first round sees matchups and brackets as follows. So, The African champions, who would either be South Africa's Mamelodi Sundowns, or they're from Pretoria, or Pyramids FC from Cairo, who came on my radar a couple of years ago because their strip and their crest is amazing. It's just pyramids and all Egyptian regalia and symbols and stuff. They would take on the Oceania champions, who have just been crowned, and once again it's Auckland City. Get to see my boys maybe in action. The winner of that plays the Asian champions, Al Ali, in an African Asian Pacific Cup. And the reason it's the African champions playing the Oceania champions is the African champions and the Asian champions take turnabout in the tournament as to who plays the Oceania team. So it was the Asian champions last year, so they get a bye to this Pacific Cup.
Yeah.
Now, on the other side of the bracket is the Derby of the Americas. I'm not making these names up. These are the real names of these things. Where the CONCACAF champions, hopefully the Whitecaps, would take on the CONMEBOL champs, who don't get crowned until the end of November.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Copa Libertadores champs.
How close is the date of MLS Cup? Is it like a week later?
It would be the first week of December, so it would be a week after Copa Libertadores, and it would be 2 weeks before the tournament starts. Or a week and a half from the tournament starting.
Okay.
Which, I mean, yeah, if the Whitecaps are in that, you're then flying off to potentially Qatar to then play in this.
It's okay. Qatar has really nice police, so it's all good.
Okay, that's good. I believe there's issues with free food, but anyway, that's a whole other story. Now, I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but if the Whitecaps got to this, they would then play the winners of this other Pacific Cup for the right to meet the UEFA champions. And it's like, could you make this more complicated and give it more weird names? But that's where it stands. And like the fact that we're even talking about this in itself is kind of nuts. But this brings me to, what would this CONCACAF Champions Cup win mean to the Whitecaps and to the city and in the history of the club? So right now, I genuinely feel, not doing any disservice to the 3 Voyageurs Cup wins, that this win over Miami is the second biggest win in Whitecaps history.
Well, yeah, and to be clear too, those Voyageurs Cups win enabled this run.
Yes, I was going to mention that.
It's all part of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So
it all plays into it.
Yeah.
So it leads to this moment. And I know we've won USL championships and CSL championships. And again, not disrespecting those at all. Big achievements at the time. But this is a Continental Cup final. Now, I had a really good chat with Asa Raymond, at training yesterday about this. And that's basically why we're talking about it in the show now today. To soccer nerds like us, to soccer people, we see this as a huge deal. But to others, the 1979 Soccer Bowl win will always be the pinnacle.
Yeah.
And I can see why they would think that, because it was a game-changing moment for a lot of people. There's people that saw that Whitecaps team, saw that victory, that then said, oh, I want to be a soccer player, not a hockey player.
Yeah.
You got over 100,000 in a parade, which if the Whitecaps win the Champions Cup, I don't think you get a parade with 100,000 people turning up.
I mean, it could depend on the day you put it on.
A big part of it as well is that cup final in 79 was shown on ABC.
That's a factor.
Whereas this whole run, as great a job as One Soccer have done, it's on One Soccer. And like talking to JJ, their live blog on Wednesday night at the Province was getting huge numbers because there was no radio coverage of the game. It was only on One Soccer. So that was the way for folk to follow what was happening.
Yeah.
So folk don't know about this run. Folk don't know about this competition. I don't know that they care that it would lead to an Intercontinental Cup in December or the Club World Cup in 2029. So whereas for me, if we won the Champions Cup, I think that's bigger than the 79 success in footballing terms, and the difference that it would make to the Whitecaps as a club and to the city, you could argue that the 79 Soccer Bowl will never be beaten. Even if they win the MLS Cup, I don't think it's as big as that Soccer Bowl win.
Okay, here are my thoughts. And there's a little bit of layers to this. Number one,
we haven't talked about this, so I'm really
you and I haven't talked about this at all.
to hear what your thoughts are on it.
I think this is a bit of like we're school teachers, Michael, and this is like obviously an incomplete assignment. So we're talking about something that's kind of in progress, looking at where it's at and all that kind of stuff.
And might never happen.
Well, that's the thing. After the final, this will change. But I think even after the final, it's still incomplete because you need to see the rest of the season play out and fit it in that context. And then honestly, again, it would be reevaluated, like depending on how things go next year. Like, is this the beginning of some kind of Whitecaps dynasty type thing? I'm not saying it is, but in the overall bigger historical context, those are the kind of layers that people will be looking at this in.
Yeah, although interestingly, they didn't follow up that 79 Soccer Bowl success.
Exactly.
And then went out of business a couple of years later.
5 years later, yeah. So I think the context and the layers to this, it's like the ripples will continue. The ripples of these Whitecaps will be continue to be felt and evaluated for a while. What I will say is the next thing for me that stands out is, and I think other people have mentioned this other places, but because I was thinking about it, and then I thought I saw someone sort of in one way, and I won't go into the details, sort of reference it, but there is similarities to this in 79, right? In 79, the Cup to the Soccer Bowl, arguably the biggest match in that was the semifinal when they beat Pele and the Cosmos.
Yes.
And now in the semifinals, they've beaten Messi and his version of the Cosmos, right? Like
that's a nice way of looking at it. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah.
Yeah, the pink Cosmos. And I think Cruz Azul is probably a better team than the Tampa Bay Rowdies?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're Tampa Bay Rowdies. I knew it was Rowdies. I couldn't remember it was Tampa Bay. But like, I think they're a much more historical side. So it's hard to compare those two necessarily, but that's kind of how it feels. So there's a similarity there, but I would agree with you in general. Well, I will partially agree with you in that, yes, this would be the biggest success of the club because it is an intercontinental, like it is a confederation championship that obviously then qualifies them for these other things, which are also massive and will be massive for the club. I think you make good points about the availability of it and people's accessibility of it. I think even with those barriers, I think it has heightened things for the club. You just look at like the ticket sales for that semifinal, and
well, even the tickets for the RSL game, it's like over 19,000 today for that game,
which
is a buzz about the team. Yeah,
totally. But I will. The other thing I want to say is that the comparison to 79 is a bit of apples and oranges because they are different eras of the club.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you want to listen to other voices in our country, they would say they're not actually the same club. There's this break, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going down that road, but if there are people from other parts of the country, they might be shouting at their phones saying, they're not the same thing, whatever. Blah, blah.
Yeah, and I fully see that point of view.
I see that point of view, but to me, it's bogus. It's not fair, really, because the essence is the same. It's the same club. But going back, you can't totally compare these two things because it's almost like, in one sense, Michael, I think it's fair to say you wouldn't have this era, let alone this opportunity of Whitecaps, if you didn't have 79. So this is all on top of that, right? Like if you don't have 79, you don't have all this. And as much as you've touched on some of the issues around some of the people involved with the club, right? This era doesn't exist without Bobby Lenarduzzi, right? And Bobby Lenarduzzi doesn't have the gravitas and the weight without 79.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all a bit of a house of cards, right? And as much as we've talked a lot about the difficulties in the last the women's team issue and the difficulties the club went through and how that played out in 2018, 2019, or whatever that was, and people's changed perception of Bobby and other people, rightly or wrongly. We're not going to rehash all that right now. It's all interconnected and it's kind of like layered together, right? So I think ultimately, if they were to win this final, yeah, to me, I think it's very easy to say that is the most important thing that the club has ever done. But it's built on top of what was done in '79, right? So it's yeah, for people who want to have like a top 10 list, yeah, it should probably be at the top with '79 close behind. But for people who want to make what are those videos that they make? The tier list. They're probably both S tier moments, achievements in the life of the club. Does that make sense?
No, no, totally. And in footballing terms, and it is apples and oranges. Yeah. In footballing terms, like winning something like this, it is way bigger because it's a continental tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But that football's not looked at in that way in the North American sport and psyche. It's all like playoffs and who's the winner at the end and.
Yeah. And the context piece is so important. So let me give you another footballing example to talk about the context piece, right? Let's look at our own domestic league. I mean, there's a history there, failures and betting and gambling and all these negative things and whatever. And then you come to the CPL, right? And you have a team like Cavalry who like dominates league play but can't win these playoff rounds or playoff finals, right? But then 4 or 5 years later, whatever it is, the league says, no, we want to honor those things. So now in retrospect, you look back at those things and you're like, those are massive achievements that now do have awards or do have honors or do put things in their trophy cabinet. And so I think it's similar with this. What this means to the Whitecaps will evolve in the same way that the three-peat of the Voyageurs Cup is now even more significant because it's led to this. And even if the final doesn't go the Whitecaps' way, I still think that especially that the Voyageurs Cup run and that especially that third one is more important or should be seen more significant because it led them to this point. And whatever happens with a sale or a not sale or a local interested person or not, I think that this run and specifically the series against Miami has the opportunity to be kind of this tipping point in a positive direction for them going forward.
Yeah. It's interesting as well because when you look back at everything, as you say, it's all interlinked. Like the Canadian Championship victory got us to this. Isaac Bowmer's penalty save got us to this moment.
Yes.
Kendall Waston's missed header got us to this moment.
Yeah, okay. Saprissa I can't remember all the results.
Chicago's beat us in MLS.
Yeah.
And we were weakened with the international break, but Saprissa's the only team that's won a game
in the cup run.
Yeah, in the cup run. And that was thanks to that late goal it should have been a draw really in Costa Rica, but it wasn't. They got that win.
Yeah.
But it's all those little sliding doors moments that it's like Isaac saves a penalty, wins us the cup. We're now at this point.
So Bernadeschi plays a role in this. It was Bernadeschi, right?
Uh-huh. He finally did something good for Canadian soccer.
But yeah, there is all these layers to this, and this will evolve as the situation evolves. And I just think, it's a nice moment. And like you and I both have experienced this with this run, and particularly this last round, but the run really as a whole is all these people coming to us and saying like, oh, like, are you going to the game, or like, where do I get tickets, or do you have tickets, or what's happening, or is that player coming, or is the whole squad coming, or what's
Can you help me meet Messi? No.
Yeah, exactly. what room is Messi staying in at the hotel? Like all these awkward things. But like I don't know. I mean, for me, like the leg when it was here, I got like a number of messages of people like, hey, so I'm in section this, where are you? And I was just like, my couch. But yeah, there it just totally heightened things, right? And like we talked about at the time with that game, it was like this payoff for people who, I mean, a lot of them, I know a lot of people are like, oh, if you got screwed by scalpers and you were paying for more for Messi, good on, like that, you deserve it or whatever. But in and around that conversation, there are so many like young people who just wanted to see this guy play. I have so many friends who like they went with their son. They brought their kids. They brought their kids' team went or whatever. Like all these friends went. I was talking to a kid the other day who's like new to our community, and he's like, oh, he came over. He came over to my house as a part of this gathering, and the game was on the iPad because they were using the TV for a game we were playing. And I had it on the iPad, and he's like, oh, that's a Messi game. He's like, oh, I so badly wanted to go to the game last week, but we couldn't make it work as a family or something. And I was just like, okay, like it's just the cultural moment that it was
and it's like I've got to see Messi play twice now in the space of a week. Was it the Messi that is the GOAT? No, but you still got to see him play, and it still gives you a bit of a buzz because you're seeing him on the pitch, and you're seeing him like when I'm editing my photos that Tom and Caroline took. It's like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy how many photos they took just off Messi. But aside from that...
But that's the thing. Those photos, plus like how many people did you see? It's like, here's him taking a free kick or here's him taking a corner. Yeah. And the performance wasn't his best by any, like not even anywhere near, like it was like, might have been near his worst performances as a player. But if, again, they got to see him play, it was meaningful, and then the home team won, and everyone seemed so happy about that, and it was like a win, like we talked about at the time. It was a win-win scenario in the way that it actually played out.
And it's like numbers are going up, like reach on our, just looking at for us alone. I know others are the same from talking to them. Our reach on the website have gone up. Our podcast downloads for April were up 48%.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
And it's like, I know from messages I've had from folk, there's people that's listening to the show, they're either new to soccer or they're like old timers that go back to the NASL days, and then lots of folk in all the various branches in between. So I'd love to hear their thoughts as well as to where you feel, if they could win this tournament, where that would rank and everything.
So two things about that. One is, if you're one of those new people, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining. Hope you stick around. We appreciate that. Number two is, as much as sometimes I don't always feel this way, I think it is also a situation both for Canadian football, but also the Lower Mainland, that a rising tide raises all ships.
Yes.
Right? So it is, as much as the Whitecaps are no longer my local football club, but them doing well can have a positive impact for the football community as a whole. And, that might not be super obvious in the short term, but I think in the long term, it is helpful.
Yeah. And like another long-term advantage, if the Whitecaps could win this and going to the Club World Cup, and I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but what does that do to the talent that then comes to this team? Because they know, I can go and play in that tournament.
And again, I think that for me goes back to Axel Schuster and how, there's elements that we could talk that could be improved, or that I know they're working on improving. But in general, it's a new era of the team where I think a lot of the talk is positive talk. And I think that's down to Axel. I think that's down to other parts of the organization that he has led the restructuring of. And I think is even a byproduct of the few months of Jesper Sorensen as well.
Yeah, and like Jesper was asked tonight, can you sustain this for the rest of the year? And it's like, look, this is not sustainable at this level for a full year of football. But we just have to keep doing the best that we can and then play to our levels. And it isn't sustainable. There's going to be a rocky patch at some point. I think it's going to come in the summer around Gold Cup, because with success comes players then going away and us having to play games during a big tournament. And we're going to miss a lot of players. And I'd imagine there will be a little drop-off then. There's a hard away spell coming up as well. You get back to then being into the 2 games a week later in the season. So, it isn't... If they can sustain this, it's phenomenal. But in realistic terms, it's not sustainable at this level. The great thing is they've given themselves so much wiggle room at the top of MLS that they can afford a dip now and they can still be top. And we'll cover that in part 3.
Yeah.
There's been questions after the win as to like where would they play the final? Could they host? Because it was on, They had to wait 24 hours to find out, and they were about 10 minutes away from hosting the final at BC Place.
Yeah.
It was a clear penalty. It was a clear handball in the box. Cruz Azul slot it home. It's 1-0. They win over Tigres. They win 2-1 in aggregate. Cruz Azul were the better team. Tigres looked fairly poor. They were kept in it by Guzman and some big saves. You know the final's going to be a tough physical test from that game alone. Like, I haven't watched a lot of Cruz Azul. I saw them play Seattle. I saw them in this second leg. They go into this weekend, and after this weekend, the Whitecaps are now 10 games unbeaten. Cruz Azul are 16.
Yeah.
So they're playing a top team. They're playing the number 1 ranked team in CONCACAF right now in this final.
I think a good part of this is, and we talked about this last time, is they're playing a different team that they've never played for.
Yes, which is actually nice and refreshing.
Exactly.
In a way. It's the 6th Mexican club they'll have faced. So to temper some of my excitement and getting carried away a little bit, they've played 5 games against Tigres, 3 against Pumas, 2 against Monterrey, and 1 against Leon and Club Tijuana. Tijuana are the only club that the Whitecaps have actually had a victory against in terms of one game. We've had 2-legged victories on aggregate, but Club Tijuana in the League Cup is the only Mexican Liga MX side, not including series wins, that the Whitecaps have beat. So that's 12 games played, 1 win, 5 draws, and 6 defeats. It would also be the first victory on Mexican soil if they can win this. So
even though they've been so close.
It's still a very tough, tall order ahead of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just in all honesty, what you're saying there helps people, I think, understand. I think a simple way to look at this is, as much as the Whitecaps were favored going into the second leg against Miami.
Yeah, which in itself's nuts.
Yeah. I think Cruz Azul is favored going into the final against the Whitecaps in Mexico City.
So we know the final is going to be in Mexico City. That is definite. They haven't confirmed the venue. Now, it could be the University Stadium, which is Cruz Azul's temporary home because they had to move because of disputes with the owners of their own home. I do wonder, the fact that they haven't announced it, is the Azteca in play? Now, I believe it's getting confirmed both the actual venue and the kickoff time on Monday.
So even as you listen to this podcast, it might be.
Yes, it might still not be confirmed yet.
Yeah.
So, because we hope to get this out on Sunday. So it's interesting. It's going to be a weekend game because they made that switch last year to move it from 2 legs to single legs and to have it at the weekend. June 1st. I like and I don't like the single leg final. I like it because it feels like a proper cup final.
Yeah.
But a proper cup final to me should be at a neutral venue. But the game's not big enough in North America, I think, to do that and to get a crowd in.
It was last year the first year?
Yeah.
Single final, yeah. Before, I remember that Toronto lost over 2 legs, right?
Yeah. So I see both sides of it. I mean, if you wanted to have it halfway, I'd put the mileage in. So halfway is actually about San Diego. So I think you would have got a good crowd if you had it in San Diego.
SoFi Stadium has some availability.
Fly down, fly up, local community come out to watch. But I mean, obviously you're going to get a bigger crowd in that team's home stadium. We would have sold out BC Place.
Oh, yeah.
Cruz Azul's not going to sell it out by stuff that we're seeing on social media anyway. The Portland game on May 31st is definitely getting moved.
Yeah.
And I've been on the bandwagon of, you've got to move the Minnesota game on the 28th. Now, put some feelers out about that, and nothing's official yet. It doesn't look like that game's getting moved.
So could that be that the Whitecaps are in a rhythm and they want to keep that rhythm going?
I think that's what it is, because MLS are willing to call it off. I think the Whitecaps want to go ahead with it because they are in this 2-game-a-week rhythm that gets them ready. And they have already gone to Minnesota and beat them with, I don't like using the word B team with this team just now because it's not, but with a heavily rotated team.
Yeah.
And the one quite comfortable.
Because we see it all. I mean, I don't know what the data is. We haven't broken down the data on these kind of things, but you see it often in MLS playoffs, and you see it sometimes in a tournament where a team has that extra day or their extra lag time, or a team qualifies up so they have a bye week, or they have sometimes a case in MLS it's like 2 weeks, or 2 weeks is turned into 3 weeks as international.
Well, yeah, like what wasn't it one year in the playoffs because the conference champions got a bye, and some team had to wait 3 weeks between the season ending and their playoff game, and then they.
So this is obviously not that staggering, but again, when you get a team out of their routine or out of their rhythm, it can change things. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying I would necessarily personally be, if I was making the shot, whether it was Axel or Jesper or whoever is making the decision on this, I'm not saying I would automatically say, no, we have to move that game so that we avoid injury, or we avoid whatever, we avoid fatigue or whatever. I'm not saying 100% I would move that game, but it definitely would be something that would be weighing on my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should, for rest, for prep, for everyone. I get that available dates are limited as the season goes on, and there are weeks with midweek games. If you're hoping for a Canadian Championship run, you've got midweek dates in that as well, international breaks, and it's like maybe they feel, I think we can win this, then we're on our momentum just now, get these points in the bag.
Yeah.
Because they are ultimately wanting to get to the MLS Cup as well.
Yeah. You got to think that that's going to be a heavily rotated side if that match stands.
Yeah. I would think so. You just don't want anyone picking up an injury. That's the thing. Like if Ryan Gould's good to go, which he should be by then, I do not see him playing against Minnesota on the Wednesday. Brian White maybe comes off the bench, because also it's good sometimes to get a little bit of a run out. And from asking some of the players, they're quite enjoying playing the 2 games a week. As tiring as it is, they'd rather play than train.
Yeah.
But asking Jesper after the game tonight about, are you happy to have this break? He's like, yes and no. I get riding the momentum is good, but we also need to get some players like Sam and like Ryan that's coming back from injuries, just more involved in training matches as opposed to games.
As weird as it sounds, it's going to be interesting to see how reintegrating Ryan Gould into this kind of well-oiled machine impacts it, ideally in the positive sense, or creates some challenges for them. And that's the one good thing about this time, or these weeks they have in the build up to this, or whatever, less than 4 weeks now, or about 4 weeks now.
Yeah. I mean, I think he just slots into a wing role, and then Sabi, Nelson and Ali Ahmed like rotate starts on the other side.
Yeah, but it's not simply just a replacement, right? It's that match sharpness.
Well, yeah, it's the chemistry as well.
Yeah.
It's like Pedro's doing so much of the donkey work just now. It's like, does he get a reduced role, and does his play suffer? Or
by donkey work, do you mean like the creative work, or do you mean like
hard work?
Oh, okay.
I love donkeys.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I genuinely would love a pet donkey.
How does Caitlin feel about that?
She's already got an ass in me, so there's that.
I walked into that one. Oh man!
I know a lot of Whitecaps fans have already booked flights. I saw John Reese on Twitter or Blue Sky putting a tweet out today to Air Canada and to WestJet saying, looking to book 500 plus flights in a hotel. First company that gets back to me gets the business.
Oh, wow.
I was like, that sounds promising for some trips that might be coming up. So yeah, we'll see how that all goes. Flight prices are already high, and they've gone up from me looking before the end of the Cruz Azul game to yesterday.
Yeah. But as part of my week was actually booking our flights for the group.
To Costa Rica.
To Costa Rica. And one of the options we had, Michael, because we were, how shall I put this? We were looking at all options, including options that would have see us avoiding traveling through
another country.
Another country.
No, always good.
So that involved like flying from Vancouver, looking at options flying from Vancouver to Toronto and down to San Jose, Costa Rica, Vancouver to Montreal, down to San Jose, Costa Rica, and then Vancouver to Mexico City, down to San Jose. And like by far the more expensive option was going into Mexico City.
Yeah.
Like exponentially. So, yeah, I hope people can, whether John and his associates and Axel's team come up with some kind of options or assistance or whatever, or yeah, people just finding stuff. I hope everyone who wants to get to this can make a way to get to this, because this is like in your Whitecaps fandom, this is the time where you book those days off work. This is the time where you say, I was saving for a trip. Like this is the time you go and do it, because
I mean, I've said to Caitlin, look, if I'm paying for a trip to Mexico City, I'm not going to Scotland in August.
Yeah.
And it's like, would I rather see Oasis, who I've seen like about a dozen times, or my team in a cup final? Yeah, I know what I'm picking.
Exactly. So whether you're going for the weekend for the match or whatever, or you're making an actual little Mexican jaunt of it or whatever.
Well, for those that want to do the latter, like I can't go on the Friday because I'm commentating.
Oh,
So
right.
I would need to go on the Saturday. So going on the Saturday and not coming back to the Tuesday is actually not bad right now, because folk are coming back on the Monday or going on the Friday. So Saturday to Tuesday is a good thing to look at, and would give you time to look around Mexico City or whatever.
But maybe if you want to like fly into Mexico City and then go to one of those more resorty type communities.
See, I would more want to do a tour of like Aztec sites or something. That would be amazing.
I would want to go to as many football matches as possible.
Well, yeah. But I mean, also, if there's a flight going down, even if it's like the day before and come back right after the game, I'm up for that as well. So.
Of course.
So just going to round this part off with a little bit of audio. So a lot's been made of the midfield, a lot's been made of the attack, but let us give a big shout out to the men at the back. The back four, the goalkeepers, all have performed fantastically all season long. In particular, the centre-back pairing, Ranko Veselinovic, Tristan Blackman, are, to start this season, I feel, amongst the elite centre-backs in MLS for 2025, with how they've been playing. Is there better quality centre-backs in the league? Yeah. Is there bigger name ones? Yeah. Are they performing in a tandem the way that these two are? No. I mean, the goal given up tonight will annoy them that it was another goal conceded, that they could have had another clean sheet. But the centre-back partnership is fantastic. And I got a chance to chat with Ranko at training on Friday just about that whole experience, beating Miami, getting to the final, playing with Tristan. Here's what he had to say. So Ranko, it's 2 days, I think. It's like all a blur, as I'm sure it is to you now. After that game on Wednesday, I was lucky enough to be down there watching it. How was it for you, that whole experience?
It was wonderful, like beautiful game. We all love to participate in those kind of games, semi-final against that team with that many great players they have. So it was just a game to enjoy. Wasn't so enjoyable in the first half, especially when they scored, but yeah, great experience for us, and we're really happy that we go to the finals.
Yeah, at half-time, I wasn't enjoying the game because obviously still in the lead, but you just never know what's going to happen. Once the third goal went in, could you then allow yourself to enjoy it a bit more on the pitch?
Well, yeah, we knew after that first half, we knew we had chances in the first half. We're going to get them second half too, so we just stayed calm, and then when we score those goals, yeah, you can unburden yourself, you can start thinking about final, but still we wanted to finish the game in a good way, not allow them any kind of hope, any goals or anything, so I think we managed it good after.
Talking about the relationship with yourself and Tristan, it's been fantastic this year. You both look so solid, and then when one of you's not playing, whoever comes in, the chemistry's still there. But with what you've got with Tristan, I know you're very close off the pitch. I saw the stuff you did down in Spain. Just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we understand each other good. We spend a lot of time on the pitch, off the pitch, and we have a good understanding what we need to do. We cover each other very well, and we are at that point now when we don't even have to talk so much on the field. We understand what the other guy is gonna do. So yeah, that's important. We have minutes, and also guys that comes on, Bilal, Bjorn, they're really good, and they're all giving everything on training, and they're ready. So that's perfect.
And I know you were playing darts in the off-season, which is my favourite sport after soccer. Are you still doing the darts now that you're back?
No, we stopped. We had a board there. We had a board. It was good. It was fun.
Here, do you not?
I don't know, do we? I don't think so. No.
Rob will put a board up.
Maybe before, not anymore. Maybe we buy one. Maybe one. Yeah.
What's the reaction been like in Serbia to how well the team's doing? Are you getting friends just sending you messages all the time? Are you getting players saying, "Oh, tell me what it's like over in Vancouver in MLS"?
Yeah, I have a lot of football friends, and they're always. They like our league. Everybody would love to come now, because the league is expanding, the more and more quality every year, and yeah, we've been especially now after these 2 games against Miami, everybody's aware of quality that we have and what we do. So yeah, it's a nice feeling.
Being in a game, I mean, obviously Messi gets all the attention. There's so much quality in that team, but there's so much focus on him, on Suarez. You handled it with ease. You might not say that, but it's from watching it looked like it was easy. What was it like playing against a legend like that?
Well, it's amazing when you see them that close, in the tunnel, especially before first game. You're amazed a little bit, but you just try to cancel all that out because they're gonna come at you hard, and you need to be focused. And I think we held pretty good focus for 180 minutes. We didn't allow them much. And it's an effort of all team, We spoke. We need to cover spaces good. We need to double Messi whenever we can, to try not to allow him pick easy passes. And they had some chances, but I'm happy that we handled it good.
And it's Cruz Azul now in the final. Did you get a chance to watch the game last night?
I did a little bit. Second half I watched.
Very physical.
Very physical. Yeah, it wasn't the prettiest game, but we know in Mexico it's gonna be hard, especially the fans they have. It's gonna be a beautiful game. We have now all month to play MLS games, and then we'll think about it more. But yeah, it's gonna be a super hard game, and final is a game of nerves, and it's gonna be everything there.
And you've played in Mexico City 2 rounds ago, and you know that it's a bit different with that altitude. How different is it as a player? Do you have to adjust and do things different?
We have to, yeah. Last game against Pumas was really hard. It was the first time that we played on such a high altitude, so at least now we know what to expect. We know we have to go in that game with that mentality to be ready for a very physical game, and it's going to be tough, but I think we'll be good because now we felt it, and we know the hardest is first 15-20 minutes, until you get a feeling of it. So we're gonna go with that mindset that it's gonna be hard, but it's one game. We give our everything, and then we hope it's enough for the win.
That's good. Thanks so much, Ranko. Good luck. Ranko Veselinovic there, just talking about all things Miami win and centre-back partnership with Tiki. And like Ranko says, they don't even need to talk as much on the pitch anymore. Instinctively, they know where each one's going to be. And that's what you need.
The benefits of longevity in a side.
Yeah. Even when guys come in, it's pretty seamless. Like Bjorn Inge-Utvik, I thought had a decent game tonight. He's been a little bit up and down for me, but I thought him and Blackman did well together. As Ranko says there's more Serbian eyes on the league and the Whitecaps, and you're going to have players that's like, oh, I'm interested in this team now, as we talked about. But the mindset of everyone is, we're going to play some MLS games for the next couple of weeks, then we'll think about the final. And I like that. They're not getting distracted by it. The job at hand now is to keep up their place at the top of MLS. It's just the mentality of the team. They're not being overawed by anything or by anyone. And I'm going to ask Nathan, actually, if there's like a Whitecaps psychologist that we could do a chat with, because I think that would be fascinating. But they all want to go like taking it one game at a time and not look at too far ahead to the final. But we spoke to Ranko there, so only fair now that I bring you a little bit of audio from his centre-back partner, Tristan Blackman. I asked Ranko this as well, like in a game like Wednesday, is there at any point that you actually start to enjoy it?
I think once, obviously the third one, once that one goes in, you're like, okay, this is going to be a big challenge for them. Even number 2, it's like that. It's a big hurdle for them. Obviously they had great players. They're going to create chances. But yeah, we felt confident once the second goal, I think, went in. And even at halftime, we knew we were going to create chances. There was never going to be, or there was never a feeling that we weren't going to, have something hit the back of the net, I don't think. So, no, we're feeling good. Definitely after the game got to enjoy it a little bit more than during the game.
First couple of months, it's obviously been crazy. It's 2 games a week. You've now got a couple of weeks where you're only really going to be playing 1 game a week.
Yeah.
Are you going to enjoy that, or would you rather just be back and playing?
Yeah, it's hard when you're like in the groove of being in so many games. So it'll be, it'll be nice to have a little bit more rest. But yeah, it's fun having games all the time because even if stuff has been going our way so far. But in moments when games don't go your way, then you have another game so quick that you can focus on that and get back into it. So yeah, it'll be nice to have a little bit more rest for some of the older guys, I think.
So Tiki there, he's one of those guys that he's happy just to keep playing the 2 games a week. And the 2 of them together are phenomenal. Great to see them. Great defensive display all round. And they were deprived a 6th clean sheet on Saturday night by a late penalty by RSL. And we're going to be back talking about that after our second song from our album of the month, and one that I'm dedicating to an ex-Whitecap.
Hey, I'm Fafa Pico, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's our second song from our album of the month for May, from Glasgow band Baby Chaos. It's their 1994 debut, Safe Sex, Designer Drugs and the Death of Rock and Roll. And I picked the song to dedicate to our good friend Fafa Pico, who didn't see a minute on the pitch in that series between Miami and the Whitecaps. Because you know what Fafa's nickname is, Zach?
No, I'm forgetting.
The Gazelle.
Oh, right, yes, I didn't know that.
So that was a track from Baby Chaos' album there, Gazelle Boy. Play Fafa. That's what I say. And he did, and he scored. So whilst Miami got back to winning ways in MLS action, I guess the question for the Whitecaps at BC Place on Saturday night is, would there be a hangover? Would there be tiredness? I mean...
Or would they be buoyed by the result?
Yeah. 4 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. You've got a game less than 72 hours after that Miami game finished. And they did not look tired in the slightest. They looked fresh, rejuvenated. Yes, there was changes. Jesper made 5 changes from the team that beat Miami, 5 from the team that beat Minnesota. And, I mean, players that played in that Miami game, maybe not starting it, but had played, looked so fresh. And, like, no rest for the wicked. Cool kids say wicked still, don't they? I don't know. And I mean wicked in the, hey, we're wicked, man. But, yeah, back on the pitch. It was a great performance. They dominated the game. I think the 2-1 scoreline belies like just how much they did dominate the game.
Yeah, I think so. I missed the opening minutes of this game because we were out, and as we got home, we turned it on, and
as did the Whitecaps.
Yeah, exactly. We turned it on before they scored though. But yeah, it was a little bit of a battling performance and a gritty kind of result, but like I think the influence of the euphoria of where they're at like helped them get this across the line.
Yeah. I mean, stats-wise, they had 56% possession. I mean, at some point in the first half, it felt like in the 70s. There was 24 shots to 11, 9 to 3 on target, and they rode their luck a little bit in the first half because RSL had 2 great chances that both should have been scored. So they could easily have been trailing 2-1 at half-time. But that said, before the goal, after the goal, they carved out so many chances, and so many of them were because of Jayden Nelson. This was the kind of joke that I made to Jayden post-game, but I didn't fully go with my whole analogy, which I'm going to bring you just now. Justin Glad, whenever they fly back to Salt Lake City, is going to wake up in a kind of Freddy Krueger-style nightmare, and it's going to be Jayden Nelson that's got the Freddy's finger hands in front of him, because he turned him inside and out and gave him a hell of a torrid time.
Yeah. Jayden was on fire there. He was at his peak in those opening phases.
He was in the zone.
Yeah. Which is, he has shown what he brings to this side and how he has augmented this side to bring it to help bring it to these new heights. And yeah, his pace, his movement, his technique there to cut inside and just smash it in, like, yeah. So
he was fouled at one point, and then the crowd were on their feet because they'd shown some neat skill, and he's giving it all. They come on, louder. He's a showman.
Oh yeah, and he's the kind of player that not just with his hands and gesticulating, but with his play gets people off their seats. And
there was a few whoops of excitement, and it's fantastic to hear. Like, he had a great ball in the 11th minute that Viti hit over, then another cross from him that kind of came off in Gando, and then the keeper sticks a leg out and turns it away. And then 15th minute, it was like Nelson again, little touch inside to Ocampo, and that shot is saved. But then the breakthrough comes in the 20th minute, and Ralph Priso, perfectly weighted through ball. Still a lot of work to do for Jayden Nelson, and what a fantastic solo effort. He just turned those 2 defenders inside and out and then slotted it past Cabral, and you're like, oh, you deserve that tonight. Totally take a bow.
Yeah, absolutely. And was he awarded the man of the match?
Tristan Blackman got the man of the match.
Oh, you're right. Okay, that does make sense. Yeah. I did see that.
That's kind of fair as well. Great goal, winning goal, and a good defensive performance. First half hour, Jayden was unplayable. And asked him after the game about it, and you could tell he knew he was in the zone, and he kind of said, yeah, sometimes you have those games where it's just all coming off for you. But this was one of the other questions he was asked, like, you've got him, you've got Sabi, you've got Ahmed, that's got those pace on the wings and contributing assists and goals. Brian White. It's the person with the toughest job just now is Jesper Sorensen as to what attackers do you go with.
Yeah, how do what's the right blend for the situation, for the opponent, for the rotation, the rest, the rejuvenate? Yeah, there's all these factors that he's weighing up with his staff.
You want to keep the opponents guessing as well, or who's going to get the start this week.
Yeah.
Because they're all going to feature at some point, but it's like, who's going to tear us one off the bench, or who's going to give us a torrid time to start with?
Yeah, exactly.
And some of them bring better defensive sides to their game than others, and link-up play and various stuff as well. But yeah, I mean, it was a solid first half. RSL had 2 great chances to score. There was the Ariath Piol. The ball came right across the face of the goal, and he just couldn't connect with it, and it just whizzed past him in the 37th minute. And then that was a bad miss in itself, because he just needed to throw himself at that ball when it was in the back of the net. 5 minutes later, Catranis has a free header that somehow he misses the goal, an open goal, gaping goal, and he heads it past the far post.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there were those let-offs, but Whitecaps came out in the second half. They were the strongest. Then, 58th minute, RSL get a penalty. Gozo goes down in the box, and saw the replay, and I was like, there's no contact there at all.
Yeah. We were messaging about this, and I was just like, yeah, unless there's a better angle from the other side that shows contact, it's like, this is going to get reversed.
I mean, there might have been a slight brush or something, but yeah, I don't think he took a dive. I think he kind of just lost balance. I might be giving him a bit too much credit there, but I mean, that's what VAR's there for. It seemed to take a little bit longer than it needed to. But yeah, ref went over. It's like, yep, there's no contact, no penalty, another let off for the Whitecaps.
They do it in the Bundesliga, but I am enjoying how they are doing the announcement. Like, it's very helpful.
Yeah, I like it too.
It calms the crowd.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as they showed the replay of the penalty in the stadium, the crowd are like, oh, and all Campo's like, going at the ref, look up the screen. And he said, it's okay, we have another screen that they're going to be looking at. But then the Whitecaps also then get a penalty. Campo, funnily enough, is the guy that is sent flying through the air by Cabral. And I could see why they would review it, because Cabral does get a touch on the ball, but he totally cleans Campo out. But Campo was never going to get to the ball. But if they'd overridden it, I would have seen why.
It's poor timing from Rafa. And but I also, like I said to you, I believe that Ocampo knows that I just have to make sure that my foot makes some contact with it. He's coming through me. I just got to make sure that there's contact. So when they look at this, they'll see it's a clear penalty. So he makes sure his foot's there. I don't think he does that in a cynical way, as I might tend to with, certain players from, let's say, south of Canada. But yeah, there's no way that's not going to be called.
No, his rolling around afterwards was a
was a little bit much for some Canadians, maybe. But yeah, got the penalty, and then things played out a little bit unfortunately for the Whitecaps.
Yeah, because I was sitting beside JJ.
Didn't go well,
and I like before the first goal, I literally said, "Look how wide open Jaden Nelson is. Why are they not marking him? What are they doing?" And then he just scored. So just before this, I was saying, tell you, Daniel Rios could really do with getting a goal tonight just for his confidence. And
yeah.
We didn't know, like Brian White was missing because he tweaked his hamstring on Wednesday. Now, the good news is he's definitely back next week. This was just precautionary.
Yeah.
But we didn't know that at the time. And I was like, it could really do if Brian maybe is going to miss a couple of games, Rios to get that confidence, get that goal. Then we get the penalty, and JJ's like, oh, it's Rios, he's going to get to take it. I was like, oh, this will be good, this will help with his confidence. He's like, not if he misses again. And he missed again.
Yeah.
Both the penalties he's missed, I think he's hit them well. Like, he's got the power on it. They're not bad penalties. Both times the keeper's gone the right way and hasn't had to do too much to then just turn it away. Very strong hand from Cabral.
Yeah.
It's like, because it was hit so hard, and it was like,
and then good defending to keep it out, right?
Yeah,
it goes back across goal.
Yeah, and Rios tried to get on top of it and then couldn't.
As discouraging as this miss and the previous miss and the overall scoring rate for Rios might be, I think it can't be you can't just focus on that when you talk about him, because I think he has done other things really well for the team.
Yeah.
Whether it's his work rate, his presence, and his aerial abilities, some of his passing. Like, there's been so many things that
What a little back heel for the third goal on Wednesday, plus the
Exactly.
experience he brings
that-
down against Mexican teams and everything that goes with the Mexican teams.
Totally. Yeah. Those are even more of the tangible stuff for sure. So I think as unfortunate as this was for his confidence, I don't think obviously the things are still early in the overall season. I just think that hopefully that the Whitecaps fans aren't losing, patience or getting frustrated with him. Because I know last year, for example, with Krylak, it was like, oh, he needs to be scoring more and like, oh, less injured and whatever. And it's like, well, just calm down and like, and at the same time, don't freak out too much too early, and appreciate the many things that he is contributing to a side that is winning with his contributions.
Talking about Krylak, interestingly, he was one of the guys again that didn't get on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a surprise. I thought we'd have seen a 10-minute cameo maybe of him up front.
But as much as they say, oh, don't worry about Brian White, he'll be back next week. Maybe next week, like Krylak is scheduled to start if Brian is not ready to go. He'll have a start then or something like that, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I haven't seen any bad things about Rios, but basically I just got straight home from the game and then we sat down and started recording this. So, yeah, I hope the fans give him patience because he is doing a lot of other good stuff. And those goals would have really helped with his confidence. I don't think we'll see him on penalties again. Like, if Brian's not... Well, Brian White doesn't take the penalties, to be fair. So it's normally Ryan Gold. I mean, I think you've got to put Berhalter maybe on penalties if it's nobody else like Ryan Gold that's going to take it.
remind me, this season have they done a shootout? I don't think they haven't done this season, right?
No.
Yeah, it's only last year. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who's taking good penalties in the last year.
Blackman actually can take a decent penalty.
Yeah, he got a V's Cup winning one, right?
Yeah, and obviously we saw his finish tonight because in the 70th minute it was 2-0. Lovely cut back from Berhalter and a beautiful finish again from Tristan Blackman. Just to remind everyone once again, up until the second year of college, Tristan Blackman was a striker.
Yeah.
And you see it in finishes like that. And he was a pretty prolific striker as well, because I went back and looked at some of his records.
Yeah, it was a nice finish, and it was in a moment in the game where it's like I really feel they needed that come after having earlier missed the PK. And I think it allowed them to like breathe a little bit and feel like, okay, we in addition to their positive play and controlling the kind of the game in general, that it gave them that even more confidence that, hey, like, we have this, we need to see this out.
Yeah. And I mean, they saw it out fairly comfortably. There's a couple of more chances for the Whitecaps, just couldn't find that third. Game went into stoppage time, didn't think too much of it. And then there's a throw-in waiting to happen. And then all of a sudden we see, why has the referee stopped this? Why is he going over to video review? Because none of us had seen anything that made us think there was a review coming. And then we saw the replay, and it wasn't a great replay. And I was like, I don't see anything in this. But from other folk that's seen better things than we saw in the stadium, apparently it was a clear penalty. And Berhalter accidentally, but like, stands on the heel of, was it? Oh, it was Justin Glad actually.
Yes.
Stood on.
Yeah.
And it was a clear penalty, and it was tucked away by Diego Luna.
Yeah, which is crazy considering like all the promotions he's been doing for Andor lately.
Which we were talking about that beforehand. I only found out there was another Diego Luna because Joshua Ray had said tonight something about a footballer and an actor. And I went, he acts? And he's like, no, the guy from Star Wars. I was like, I've no idea what you're talking about. Not being up with popular culture. I should wear my Art Brut t-shirt that says popular culture no longer applies to me. I'll wear that to the next game.
That is funny.
Because it's very true. I had no idea what he was talking about. Didn't know there was a series But then I don't have Disney at the moment, and I do keep meaning to get it back. And I keep saying once I catch up on all these other shows, haven't quite caught up with them yet. But yeah, so I mean, that was basically the game. Big 2-1 victory for the Whitecaps. They saw it out quite comfortably. Deserved winners. Not too much more really to talk about it. They got out of it unscathed. And again, other results in MLS kind of, they didn't all go their way because there was some of the chasing pack came away with some big wins. But the biggest victory tonight, from a Whitecaps point of view, that wasn't the Whitecaps, Portland went down to a 4-1 defeat at San Jose, leaving the Whitecaps with a 7-point gap now at the top of MLS West. Incredible.
It is. It is incredible. It's so significant that they have so many points on the board right now. It sets them up so well for the back half of the season to get some great advantages in terms of where they rank and who they play, to get home matches or second legs at home, and to really go on a run there like they have with the Champions Cup. And this is, again, like nothing Whitecaps fans have seen before in the MLS era. So it's so encouraging. And yeah, like we mentioned in one of the earlier parts of this episode, it can allow them to make a run for a trophy that they've only ever come marginally close to once in the Carl Robinson era, and that's the Supporter Shield.
Yeah, that was so close that year. I mean, it'd be phenomenal to win it. I mean, if we don't and we still win the West, happy enough with that. And right now, they're 13 points above the playoff line.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that's a lot of wiggle room if anything goes wrong. They're leading the Supporters Shield by 2 points still from Columbus. Minnesota, we talked about that game in the 28th, and they'll be out for revenge for what happened last weekend. They're still sitting second behind the Whitecaps, 7 points back. Portland's third on 18, San Diego's on 17, so's LAFC. And, I mean, it's just incredible. There were some big wins tonight. I haven't seen any of the action, but like San Diego beat Dallas 5-0. Minnesota beat Austin 3-0. San Jose beat Portland 4-1. Seattle, starting to find their groove, beat St. Louis 4-1. So the goals were flying in the West. And then we'll see tomorrow, can LA Galaxy finally get a win as they go to Kansas City? Next Sunday, the Whitecaps host LAFC. And I believe it's the Sunday game of the week as well, so that'll be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
They were 2-0 winners today, by the way, against Houston. So right now, everything coming up Whitecaps. It's a great time to be a Whitecaps fan. And as Zach mentioned, it's also a good time for soccer in Canada, Lower Mainland in particular, and for his team, Vancouver FC, who managed to get their first win of the season today, and a well-deserved one at that. We'll be back chatting about that and rounding up the rest of the CPL action after this episode's Britpop song.
Hi, it's Jaden Nelson, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Don't
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this song, it's our Britpop song for the episode. If you're a new listener, we are playing a Britpop song every week in honour of one of the best musical genres, I think, especially in my lifetime anyway, the Britpop era. And we're trying to do it the same week that the song was released, or the same week that it charted 30 years ago. So this was a song that was released on May 1st, 1995, charting on May 6th in the UK and peaking at number 10. It's from a band we've played a few songs from now, because they really, really put these releases out quick from the debut album I Should Coco. The band is Supergrass. The song was Lenny. That was the fourth single from that debut album. And yeah, another good one from the band. So let's get back to the football chat now, and it's time to turn our attention to the CPL. We will round up the action, and an interesting weekend. Some good games, some middling games. Two teams got their first ever victories. One team remains winless, and Canadian Championship action to talk about as well in this part. So the action got underway on Friday night. York 1, Cavalry 2. Cavalry getting their first win of 2025. The defending champions. First half, more goals in this one from Tobias Waszewski and Altobelli, Julian Altobelli for York. Two players very much in form right now and can't stop scoring.
Yeah, I got to watch this game in full live, which was fun, and then I joined the post match, which was also a lot of fun. It was a bit of a gritty game, and don't want to go on about this too much, but I think it's a significant issue that we do need to keep raising in terms of bringing or keeping it in the light it deserves, not so much in a berating it or
not to pile on.
Yeah, not to be overly critical, but I think it's important that this remains a topic of conversation in Canadian football, and that is the officiating. I mean, you talked about we're going to talk about playing one of the other games later, but there's a clear moment where I might mess up. Nicholas Walling. Is it Nicholas? I forget if it's the German on Cavs. Not that's not Toby. He clearly his shirt is being pulled. It's not even like a question. You can see the hand, you can see the material between him and the shirt, like it's in the box, and he goes down and he doesn't do a roll, but he gives the yeah, as he's being pulled, he goes down, and it's like just totally like waved away. And it's like, if there is VAR or VAR light, this is clearly a penalty. But more so, the bigger concern is that it should be a penalty. It should be seen in live play. And I know Sergio Camargo made post-match comments about
he said the refs were clowns
whenever they ref York at home or something like this or whatever. Again, that's not the criticism. I not the way I would shape the criticism, but like the league, obviously the CSA who oversees the officials. This is something that has to be continued to be worked at. I mean, there are layers to this. We know that being a referee is not a desirable thing in life. No one wants to be the person who has to make a decision on what was
Apologies for all referees listening. Your life is desirable.
No, but like, it's not an easy thing, right? And then to be berated by, in some cases, thousands of people when you get it wrong. Not a lot of us have thousands of people watching us at our jobs telling us we're doing it wrong when we get it wrong. It's something that needs to be looked at. But what I will say about this kind of gritty battling game, which again was Cavs' first victory of the season, as you mentioned. Let's talk about York for a second. Altobelli's goal is a simple corner. And I asked Shola on the post game. He took the corner in swinging left-footed corner from the right side. I asked him, was this something you had kind of worked at, isolating Julian or whatever? And he said, honestly, not so much a thing that wasn't a play that a pre-designed set play where people were moving towards. He's like, I just looked up at and saw everyone was, I think, more in a back post position or moving to the back post, and he was kind of isolated or kind of more alone at the near post, and I just went for him. So a good service, a good enough header. There's a deflection that throws Carducci off. It finds the back of the net, out the belly. Was it 4-4 or 5-5 or whatever?
5-5.
5-5.
It could be the hottest start ever by a player in the CPL.
It's legit for him. So kudos to him. The goals, if you haven't seen the goals from these games, I encourage you to go find them on YouTube.
Yeah, some really good ones this weekend.
Kobe's, I can't remember how it fell to him, but again, I think he controls it and smashes it on the volley or the half volley in, which was nice. And then the winner, we were talking about Daniel Rios and his nice kind of like flick or back heel or whatever. The winning goal is a play where the ball is played into the box and substitute Kenija Alva just gets this flick with the outside of his boot. That if you're not watching, you might be like, "Oh, what happened there? How did it get?" But when you watch the replay, it's a really just like a high football IQ kind of play, and he gives it back. Or I can't remember if it was a 1-2 or whatever, but he flicks it out to Camargo. Camargo makes this nice run, plays it across. The ball comes to Aird, and Aird kind of smashes it back across goal into the far corner.
Celebrates in front of a lot of friends and family that were playing there.
Yeah, he was giving them the heart symbol and pointing at them all and whatever, which was great for him. So talk to him about that post game, about how great it is to score at home. I had to resist the urge because on the thing to say anything, but at the Cavalry away game, he was getting on their ball boys for not being quick enough for getting them balls and stuff. And when I was leaving the officers club, the media building at the Cavs, he was walking in his street clothes, and we had to, give him a hug, whatever. Talk. Actually, I don't. Yeah, did I give him a hug? I shook hands or gave him a hug, whatever. It's Fraser Aird, and I just made a comment about, hey, you got to sort out those ball kids. So I almost made a joke about the ball kids at York tonight, but I dialed that back. It was again good Friday night game, good way to get the weekend going. Huge result for Cavs. Disappointing for Mauro Estacchio because aside from their unfortunately comprehensive victory over Vancouver FC in the week 1, they've gone winless. They have a couple of draws, but they go on winless, and so or maybe they only have one draw.
I think it's just one draw. Yeah, because I sent a message to you and I said, this is a really good York United team, but they just can't get the victories. Like they look one of the better teams in the league, but their performance or their points total and end results are not there.
They have the goals in Altobelli.
Yeah,
need to get things sorted at the back. I forgot to double check this, but our good friend Elijah was not in the match day squad. I don't know if he's injured. I don't think he's suspended. I forgot to double check on that, but without him playing at kind of a central role, shielding is a big loss for them. And then you and I have talked. I don't know about this keeper yet.
No,
I'm really not. There's a few keepers in the league we've talked about before. He is one. I think a huge question mark hangs over him. We'll see how the season progresses and how he does and what they decide to do. But the one thing about Mauro Estacchio in the post game is there is this kind of like, okay, we're playing Laval this week. We know it's an important game in the Canadian Championship. I know we're going to talk about that tournament in a few minutes. But they see this as an opportunity that, like Cavalry, this was a week of back-to-back wins. They crushed Edmonton Scottish in the Voyageurs Cup with like a 6-0 thrashing. And it kind of helped some confidence, 6 different goal scorers. They have now this first league win. It feels like they're kind of rolling in the right sort of way. Now York has the opportunity to go and get maybe get things kind of confidence and get things going in a good way as they face Laval. And we'll see if that can kind of turn things around for them. Yeah, let's go on to the next game, Ottawa.
Yeah, 3 games today on Saturday. So it finished Ottawa 3, Pacific 1. The first half was the best half of football I've seen Pacific play in years.
Oh, wow. I watched most of the first half or parts of the first half live.
They were genuinely exceptional in that first half. Their pressing was tremendous. They were
Their pressing led to their goal.
Yeah, they were carving out chance after chance, free flowing football. Ottawa couldn't get into the game at all. It was like excellent performance.
From what I did see live, you're right. They definitely should have converted more of the chances they created in that first half. I think I even texted you about one where it's like Bustos.
Bustos
should have done more.
And I hadn't seen that bit because I was like, oh crap, I thought the game started at 11.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a 10 o'clock kickoff our time.
Yeah. But they got the breakthrough in the 37th minute. Ronan Krat dispossesses a defender on the edge of the box. It was horrible defending.
Yeah.
And then slotted it home.
But he's a guy who has not started every game, but he has, I think, been impactful in all the games that he started, or even when he's come off the bench. And yeah, it was it looked like it reminded me of two of Vancouver FC's of their first 3 goals this season, where their pressure either caused a turnover or they stripped the ball from the opponent deep in the opponent's half to then go in and score. So yeah, it was it was well done, but again, it was also like this one kind of an individual error from Ottawa that they really, really got punished for.
I was just having a quick look now because I was going to mention that the goal came minutes after Amir Didic got taken off with what looked like a bad injury. So I was looking to see if there was any update. I think he broke his ankle.
Yeah, you text me right away about that, which is tragic if that's the case.
It looked really bad. He looked in a lot of pain. There was a bit that the trainer just touched and it was clearly agony.
Yeah.
And then he got stretchered off. And I mean, that's a huge blow
for
Ottawa. And he's such a good player.
In this league, he is a top tier defender, right? So if they lose him for whatever, let's say 2 months or more, like that's a huge blow to them.
Yeah, I mean, the second half, and it's not the first time this season this has happened, Ottawa's gone in trailing, and then they've come out superb in the second half.
Yeah.
As well as Pacific played in the first, Ottawa played in the second. They tied it up. Kevin DeSantis, 30-yard screamer in the 55th minute after getting the ball and taking it forward. Turned around complete in the 64th when DeSantis in the build-up gave it to Antonoro and he got the finish.
Yeah, that was a nice goal. But the piece de resistance.
Oh, I mean, this has got to be a goal of the year contender.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, DeSantis' strike is a goal of the year contender.
I don't know if it's that good, but it is quality, yeah.
But this
one, I felt so bad for Sean Melvin on this.
The ball looked glued to David, I should say, Rodriguez's foot.
Yeah.
It was a Maradona-esque mazy run through defenders.
Yeah, it was just like in the box, and everyone who challenged him, he just paused and walked by.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with he sat Melvin down or whatever, and then it's easy tapping. It was if you haven't seen it.
Oh, one of the goals of the weekend in any of the North American leagues.
Yeah. Already, again, the talk has been that Rodriguez is this like player of the year candidate, and he's kind of showing it almost every week.
Yeah. I mean, it was such a good game. Ottawa keep on rolling, keep top. Shame it wasn't really the TSN game of the day, because the one that was
either the other two would have been better.
Yeah, Halifax 0, Forge 0. I didn't even write any notes for it. Let's move on to the VFC derby. Two teams looking for their first win, and it was Vancouver FC that got it, and they looked pretty good on the way to getting it, and a lot of positives to take from it. Couple of negatives, but a lot of positives.
This was match week 5, right?
Yes.
We didn't have the bye, right? Yeah, so we played 4 games, and I think before that we scored 3 goals. Yeah, we scored 3 goals. So we doubled our goals for the year in this one game, which was nice to see. Again, AFTN for the second game in a row, I can't remember if we talked about this last week or not, but came out with a 4-3-3, which is something I don't remember him doing a lot in previous seasons. Others can correct me on that. Always felt a lot more like kind of 4-2-3-1 kind of stuff. This is a very far more distinct 4-3-3 where he has Fry in the middle with the young, talented Emmerich Fotzing, who's just a gem of a player. We'll talk about
not so much in front of goal, but
we'll talk about that maybe when we get to it a little bit later. And then U of T guy, a U of T player, Mehdi Susi from the U Sports
Who's
draft.
genuinely surprised me.
He's come on, done well. So you got two left-footed guys there, and those guys have really helped control the midfield. Might be too strong of a way to phrase it, but I mean, I would say this. We were talking about this. Kirk and I were talking about this. I still think the cavalry away first half was the best half of football so far. This is probably the best, overall performance, especially because of the result. But
yeah, I said to you last week, I think it's a good starting 11 that you've got, and they showed that today. It was as good as Vancouver were. Valor looked terrible in all areas. And I've been a bit apprehensive for this Wednesday. Canadian Championship, TSS going there. I'm a lot more confident after that game today, seriously. Because Valor they look lost.
Well, yeah. I mean, part of it, and I texted you about half of this, but there was no Hundal.
Hundal and Fernandez were missing, but no one said why.
Yeah.
For either one of these teams, if one of them could get the win, it was a big confidence boosting win.
Yeah, totally.
And it's Vancouver that's going away with that confidence. I mean, they travel with 5 subs again. We were chatting about that. Yeah. We've talked about it before that we don't like it. It does seem to be a 6-5 thing because Pacific headed with 5 as well.
I haven't asked about it this season, but as we've talked about it in previous season and asked different people within the football club, this is an approach that they're taking. There supposedly is some understanding amongst the owners, but it doesn't seem to necessarily always play out the exact same way in terms of flights across the country. And obviously,
I mean, to be fair, the 2 Pacific team or the 2 BC teams do have the longest travel.
Yeah, aside from, I guess, Halifax or close to Halifax.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the thing is, this was not, see, I was expecting at least 6. So I think when you and I are messaging, it was like, no, I think there's going to be at least 6 because then you have 5 outfield players to choose from. And then your backup keeper and Felipe.
I mean, they did well. It didn't cost them in the end. Look, like Vasco Fry opened the scoring in the 33rd minute. Lovely chest down and volley. It's the thing you're just taught to do when you're learning the game.
Yeah, a free kick in from the left side and gets headed back out. I think it was from a defender, someone who I think was marking Wiro. And yeah, he just chests it and smashes it. It's a nice finish. It's again, Vasco very, very, very often scores like a tap in or like an easy goal. His goals are big goals, often from different distance or involving, quality technique. The unfortunate thing is with Vasco Fry, you have to take the good, but unfortunately there's come to be a bit of a ongoing kind of bad side.
Yeah, and we've talked about it on the show that we like players with an edge, with aggression. I've said I think Vasco needs to try and rein it in a bit. He's just back from a 3-game suspension.
Yeah.
For violent conduct that was given after the fact. Was that an elbow as well? It was violent conduct anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, the referee in this one, she had a game to forget today for both sides. There were some really bad decisions.
I think both sets of supporters would concur with you on that.
Yeah. She's looking straight at this incident, and the only benefit of the doubt I can give her is the way that Vasco's body is. She might not be able to tell that his elbow is up.
Yeah. Plus, Vasco is clever, right? He goes down and stays down a long time.
Yes.
And he might. I'm not saying he was embellishing, but I think he knows that the longer he stays down, or the longer he deals with whatever issues he has from the contact or from the coming together or the landing or whatever, it helps him to make it look like things were difficult for him in that moment as well. But when you watch the replay, it's kind of damning. It's hard not to see it as very intentionally raising his elbow.
Yeah. It's like for folk that haven't seen it, it's with Raphael O'Heen. I think that's how you pronounce his name. The elbow is up. I know there's a whole elbows up thing at the moment in the country, but
it was a little too literal here.
Yeah, it was a really bad tackle. I know he had to go off at half time, and I think it was from the effects of it. And I think Vasco's going to get another disco, if it's called that, in the CPL, but he's going to get another potential 3-game ban.
Well, that's the problem, Michael, will it be 3? Or is it
be more, maybe?
Repeat offender, the very game
that's true, because it's the very game he's back.
Yeah. I like Vasco Fry.
I do too.
He's a very nice guy. But you also, when you talk to him in different situations about different things, you can see that he has that edge that you're talking about. And I remember talking to him about one situation. I thought it was totally just whatever. And you can tell it was like, no, like I was expressing my frustration in that play that I was talking to him about. And you're just like, I thought he was going to say, oh, no, yeah, that was an accident, or, oh, no, yeah, it was not, there was nothing, vengeful in it. But the way he spoke about it was like, oh, no, okay, like there might have been kind of him releasing frustration or whatever. And that's something that has to be reined in.
Oh, because he ended up getting taken off at the start of the second half for what clearly to me looked a little bit of retribution.
Well, I will say, aside from that, he did get kind of kicked up and down the park today, like even more so than usual.
But he's bringing that on himself because he's being physical, so then folk get physical with him.
You're probably not wrong in that assessment. He's a player to me, Michael, that has the ability to play at this level or potentially other levels. And I think he has to come to the realization that this is hurting him and could hurt him in any kind of progression he wants to have.
Yeah. The player that kind of had the retribution thing was the guy that came on for O'Heen at half time, Javonte Lane.
Oh, yeah. And that's right.
And he gets sent off later on, which we'll come to. But it's like he's like laughing as he goes away. He knew exactly what he'd done.
Yeah. Which again for him is moronic in the context of the game as a whole.
Yeah, as to how it then played out.
I'm sure Phil DeSantos will be livid about that too.
We'll go back to the second goal. We just want to talk about the Vasco Fry stuff there because it was all connected. I mean, route one-ish, pinpoint pass. Diaz sees Visconti off his line, chips it over him.
Opens his body, inside of his foot, and gets it over the keeper, kisses the post and in.
And Viscosi looks like an old drunk man coming out of the pub as he's trying to get back to the ball. It's horrible to watch, which is why I want him to play against TSS on Wednesday.
Exactly. You absolutely want Viscosi.
But he's played every minute so far, so it's like, do you put him in or do you go with the young guy? I think losing today, though, and having 2 players sent off that now can't play next weekend anyway, Phil DeSantis would be stupid to rotate that team and play young people in. But maybe it's like, I need to put other players in to try and get some kind of reaction. I have to find some format that's working. So, I mean, the word on the street is if Valor lose to TSS on Wednesday, Phil's gone.
Well, I think we talked about it, right? There is this thing now, supposedly, that the league is involved with Valor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So does that change things in terms of their willingness to... Because I've always said on the show multiple times, I do not see the Winnipeg Football Club firing a coach from Valor FC who they then have to pay out while they're then paying a new coach. It does not make sense for them, I think, financially, and with their, what I'm going to call, rightly or wrongly, their limited knowledge of football. It doesn't seem like a wise move to take. They've had really good football people in Phil DeSantos, in Robin Gale, right? They've had some people who things have not worked out for, which I would probably say that's a little bit maybe more based on the personnel they've been able to bring in than the coach totally in and of themselves. But the coaches obviously will end up taking the brunt of the blame for that and their inability to achieve playoffs and all that kind of thing, all those kind of things. But that would be really interesting to see if that happened, and it would be interesting for us if we're able to find out if that is something that the league would be deciding as opposed to...
Yeah. Who would take that job right now? You put a young, ambitious coach in, it's a tough first job for them does an experienced person want to touch it? It's not like even Vancouver FC. If Afshin Goatby went, there'd be lots of folk would be like, "Oh yeah, I want this. This is a good job." Valor's not.
Yeah, it has its shortcoming, right? You can't see, like, for example, thinking about if you want someone with, let's say, CPL experience, you're like, I don't think Martin Nash is going to be going to Winnipeg.
No.
Right? With this moment, with the squad that's there, with the resources that are around it, like it would be really interesting to see how that would be approached and what kind of person would be put in place. And again, for us, I think it would be helpful to know who's making that decision and how it gets made, and if we can, what are some of the ramifications around all of that. But and all this, and we've said this before, in general, we don't like when people lose their jobs, and we definitely don't like when it's people we know and have a high level of respect for. And I have a ton of respect for Phil DeSantis and a ton of time for him. I think he's a good football person in our country who has been a servant to help grow the game in this country. And this part of his journey is not going the way he would like. I hope this is not his last chance at being a head coach in the league or in the country.
I think it would be tough for him to get back in the league.
Well, yeah, in the short term.
Yeah. We'll see if there's a reaction from them on Wednesday. If there's not, and there's these murmurs going around, I'm sure players have heard it as well. It could be, well, we can kind of expedite this a little bit.
Which is horrible.
Back to just finishing this game off. So it was 2-0 at the half because of that goal from Diaz.
Which was a strange feeling. I'm not going to lie.
Yes.
Very strange feeling. Multiple goals, up by multiple goals at a halftime.
Dominating, in complete control.
Yeah.
Against an opposition that just looked a different level and not in a good way. Could have been 3. Should have been a penalty. One of the new guys, Batista, he was brought down in the box. It is a penalty. He flops himself, he throws himself down in such a ridiculous looking way that I can see why it's not been given.
Yeah. I hear that. I see that side of things. I just think it's so obviously a penalty. I mean, he totally beats the Valor defender, whose name and number are escaping me at the moment, but he totally beats them so bad that you can totally tell it's like a revenge, like a whatever kind of like tackle where he just like kind of grabs them kind of in the midriff or whatever, and to me it's a clear penalty.
Yeah, his hands on his chest.
And like you and I were saying, if it's not a penalty, that's okay. Then it should be a yellow card for simulation.
Yep.
But again, without VAR, those situations I think get a little bit needlessly sticky.
Yeah, I mean, it should have been a penalty. It was another poor one from the referee. Then Twardick gets sent off. Like, no questions at all about this, a second yellow.
Well, yeah, but Twardick had like 3 challenges in the first half that, in my opinion, all were yellow card worthy, and it wasn't until the third that he got a penalty, got the actual card, and the third one might have been the lightest of them, and you could see him on camera. How shall I say this? Expressing how ridiculous he thought his yellow card was.
Yes,
it was interesting to see him cut such a frustrated figure because he is a player that DeSantos brought in to be their kind of a decisive attacking player, and he's shown that for them this year. But this game, he kind of lost the plot a little bit, and I think was overly aggressive, and was rightly sent off. And I guess I wonder how much is there the other things going on that made him express his play in such a way today that saw him so easily booked again.
Yeah. I wish the suspensions carried into the Canadian Championship. This would be fantastic for Wednesday. But it seemed to light a fire under Valor. Because they played their best spell of the game and they pulled a goal back 2 minutes later. Long ranger, beautiful goal, Venancio. And it looked like they could get a point all of a sudden.
Yeah, which was frustrating from a Vancouver FC point, having experience of being up a man and conceding goals.
Yeah, I mean, what that would have done for your team's psyche if they'd given that up. I mean, that's damaging beyond belief. Well, it wasn't a decisive moment. There's a second setting off. Lane gets a second yellow about 7 minutes from time. And then deep in stoppage time, third goal comes. Pathé?
It's Partey.
Partey.
Partey Njai.
Oh, because it's like the old Pathé News that they used to have. But we'll go with Partey.
And it was interesting.
Nice goal.
Did you see who set him up for the goal?
Yes.
Seen it.
Yeah, good old Rocco Romeo, forgetting what team he plays on.
Poor Rocco.
It was like a Jake Nerwinski moment.
He heads the ball. The ball comes in. He heads it kind of, but goes up in the air. Njai collects it and like smashes it in from like just inside the box or the top of the box or whatever, making it 3-1.
Beautiful strike.
Icing on the cake. I feel like I like Rocco as a dude. I don't want his team to win. I was on the pregame call with him, like I said, and he was. I asked him not a super probing question about some of his comments in the preseason, but spoke. I think the way he came off in the pre-match press conference, which they played as a part of the broadcast, I think came off better than his comments earlier in the year. I feel a little bit bad for him because it's early days, but obviously things aren't playing out the way he wants them.
Oh yeah, I mean it's kind of funny that Hundo and him are both there, two VFC players that's made unfortunate comments, different things, but then they both put Valor. It's like there's your punishment. Yeah. But that victory sees Vancouver move up to 4th.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Could that be the highest you are all year?
That's easy there, PFC boy.
I think if you stay at 4th, you'd be very happy with that.
They're obviously
get a home playoff game.
What place are PFC in, Mike?
Let's move on now to the Canadian Championship. We'll quickly rattle through this.
Yeah.
TFC out in the first round. Yeah, that's all we need to talk about. That's brilliant. 2-2 draw at home in Montreal. Lost 3-2 in penalties. I only watched the highlights because it was obviously during the Miami Whitecaps game. I'd seen folks saying this game's terrible. And I watched the back. I was like, it's not that bad, but highlights can obviously make something quite good. TFC rotated players. When your team's crap in the league and you want a feel-good victory and maybe a confidence-boosting victory, and you're playing a team that's even worse than you, and you decide to rotate players?
It's weird because it's not like Robin Fraser doesn't know the significance of a match against Montreal. Like he's assistant coach to Greg Vanney, right? Like he knows how important this is. I also didn't watch. I watched parts of the game live. I watched more than extended highlights. It wasn't the overall match wasn't of the highest quality, but some of the goals were great. Mm-hmm. That equalizer from Montreal was an incredible strike.
Always full credit to Montreal as well for fighting back twice.
Exactly. Always great to see Joel Waterman score.
Yes.
And I think it was with his foot this time, not with his head.
Yeah.
Again, it was a game that had some good goals. The stadium wasn't full, but those who were there, you could tell how important it was to them.
Yeah, I'm not sure as many Montreal fans made the trip. Didn't sound loud when they scored.
No, I also hated how Montreal must have won the coin toss so that the shootout was in the opposite end of the Toronto supporters, which I don't think helped them at all. And again, felt bad for Theo because he tripped or he slips.
Oh, it was a horrible.
Yeah, but it was horrible because he slipped, right? Like, if he doesn't slip, I don't think that balloons like that. So, Surwa, some great. Was it two good?
He's good at penalties. Him and Pantemis, two Canadian keepers, great at stopping penalties.
Yeah. Again, not the greatest match ever, but a good Voyageurs Cup match, I think.
Yeah. The other two games, it was CPL versus League One sides. And like speaking to Colin at TSS about this, it's going to start getting harder and harder, I think.
Yeah.
For these League One teams to get the upsets. CPL teams are getting stronger. I genuinely feel the quality in League One BC and the men's side this year has dipped. It feels worse than previous years. Don't know what it's like in the other League Ones.
Well, I think part of that's because players have now moved on to different opportunities. Right?
Yes, different opportunities, or I'm not going to make it pro. I'm just getting on with my life.
Exactly. So Yeah, both things are very understandable, right? You have some guys, I think, from that level who are CPL. You have a bunch who've gone to Division 2 in Australia.
Yeah.
Like you said, yeah, there's people who've said, okay, this is not going to be my career. I'm going to go do my career now.
Yeah, which is fair enough.
Totally.
So, I mean, Ottawa beat League One Ontario's Scrosoppi 2-0. And, I mean, they were in it till late on, so that was good. But Edmonton Scottish destroyed 6-0, as you mentioned earlier, by the Cavs.
Did you see
also in issues off the pitch as well?
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't read the article. I just saw the headline.
Yeah, I've got it bookmarked to read, but just from the headline, it's like, that does not sound good.
No, because they are a very storied club who...
Yeah.
This is the kind of opportunity they've been waiting for, and yeah.
Two big games this week. One for you. You're heading over to the island on Tuesday. Pacific taking on Vancouver.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Right now, Vancouver's going into that as the favourites for me.
Yeah, they're both 3-1 results this week. One positive, one negative. So it'll be interesting to see. I've seen going back to the BC Derby from last week, I've seen quite a significant amount of grumbling from Pacific or Pacific adjacent people talking about Merriman really changing things up too much. And I think I feel like he's trying to figure out how to make things work best.
Yeah, I think he is.
But again, we saw it in this game with it was like a 4-1, and your buddy.
And it was working in the first half, though.
It was, but I think Ottawa adjusted, right? And Josh Hurd as a lone striker, I thought it just felt a little bit weird to me.
But remember, we spoke about this in the preview. He was flying in pre-season, so that's why they went.
No, but I wouldn't. I see why you play him, but in that spot as a lone striker, it just feels like that's not the best way to get the best out of Josh Hurt. He had chances in that game. He had half chances. Maybe he should have done better with one of them. But
that's what they're needing. They're needing an out-and-out striker. Wednesday, I'll be flying to Winnipeg on Tuesday, but I'll be able to watch the game at night. Should be all settled by that point. Valor TSS. I mean, Valor still have to go into this as favourites. TSS, it's a much different TSS side.
Mm-hmm.
That said, Valor's there for the taking. Like, that defence, I know the likes of Michael Hennessy and even Mejia can do damage to that back line. Whitecaps away. That is it for the football chat. We'll wrap this up. We'll finish with this episode's wavelength. From December 1984, a folk song from a folk singer, Ralph McTell, in tribute to the Whitecaps' exploits this past week. This is The Winner's Song.
Our soccer hero Sydney could never ever win. He had this weighty problem, the ball would not go in. And the only dribbling he could do was overstake a kidney. But with a single goal we won the cup, and Sydney scored it, didn't he? He's a winner and I'm a winner. We're winners through and through. Whatever your game, it's up to you. You can be a winner too, a winner through and through. Now Walter's into basketball, but he wants to change his name. At 6'8", he's tailor-made to be good at the game. But if he drops a basket or scores one off a volley, out or in, the crowd all sing, that's another nice one, Wally, Wally, Wally. But he's a winner and I'm a winner, we're winners through and through. Whatever your game, it's up to you. You can be a winner too, a winner through and through. He's never scored with show. His mate said, Nobby, leave it out, you'll find another girl. But he was throwing after her the night they were up to you. You can be a winner too, a winner too.
Ralph McTell, the winner's song. That is it now for the show. It's been a long one. We'll keep the goodbyes briefish. How do you want to end it this week? In the bath with a toaster. No.
Oh, Michael, so morbid. No, I'll just say, if you're listening to this and you're on the island and you can make time on Tuesday night, get out to Starlight. It should be a fun evening. Maybe you'll see penalty kicks without extra time. And or if you're listening to this and you're in the Winnipeg area, like, I don't know, 4 hours driving distance from Winnipeg, you should drive to Winnipeg to watch TSS come in there and try and make Michael's heart grow even bigger than it grew last week down in Miami.
Yeah, I don't know that I can handle too much more of this. This is all crazy to me. AFC Wimbledon qualified for the playoffs with a 1-0 win today. East Fife won their last game of the season. They go into the playoffs on Tuesday. This is all this success. It's just crazy.
There you go.
Not used to it. I knew that voodoo doll was good.
Oh, wait, is that what your hat's sitting on right
now? No, the only prick in that hat. And on that note, thank you for listening to this one. It's been a
Michael,
joyous episode, a lot of fun. We'll be back with another one soon. Until then, thanks for listening. Take care. And mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but